I think we're still okay. I still, what I would say is,
Okay, we're going to go ahead and call to order. Please rise for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please have a moment of silence. We had a 12-year-old boy who passed in New Freedom this last month, and also for our first responders who came to his assistance, and for our deployed military. Thank you. Okay. We adopted Robert's Rules of Order a couple of 3 months ago, and also, of course, we're following the Sunshine Law, and I've been doing some reading and trying to make a way for us to all participate. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to continue to have our public comment for visitors. It's going to be on all agenda items initially. Then, once we make a motion, we will have council discuss and debate whatever the motion is. And prior to taking any vote, we will also ask for participation from the public. And then at the end of the meeting, we will also have a time for public comment on anything else that wasn't covered during the meeting. Okay? So with that said, we're going to go ahead and start with public comment on agenda items. And we do have some visitors on the agenda. Dave from Eden Tool. You can, I think the microphone's working. If not, just yell.
You go flip up the switch.
All right. So thanks for having us. This is Jake, my business partner, Jake Eden. And what we'd like to do is have a celebration of life for Mike Eden. Most of you guys know Mike and Eden Tool down in the corner. Mike was kind of had a lot of impact in the community, so we're expecting a large gathering if the weather holds out. In doing so, what we'd like to do is we'd like to have it on the property, the Eden Tool, the manufacturing property there, and we'd like to close Pleasant Ave if it's possible from Constitution to Independence. We've already spoken to all the people affected, which is us, Sealing and Jones, the two businesses, and there's 2 resident properties. We've spoken to everybody. No one has voiced any objection to us, and so we'd like to bring it if it's possible. We're going to have a lot of people parking, people walking that street just from a safety concern.
We spoke to Sealing and Jones today. They're going to let us use that gravel lot down Pleasant, so we're going to have a lot of people that are walking along Pleasant up to our place, so just for traffic.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions?
The 13th is what day of the week?
Saturday. So Saturday, and we're thinking from noon, we put 2 o'clock out there. We expect people to come early. Sealing and Jones might have a few people in the morning, but that affects very few people, and they have their local parking lot, so they were fine with it. So we're thinking kind of from noon.
Okay. Anything else?
Do we have the opportunity to put up any detour signs, like out a little farther so people can get a railroad and cut across?
We spoke last week, we're going to use the message board the week before to get the information out. I don't think we'll have any issues, and we'll work with Public Works to get the barricades out as well, so.
Okay, yeah, because people can't come into Franklin Square and turn in there, and they'll have to go around.
and are you gonna have like fire police or anything directing traffic, or are you gonna talk to those folks?
We'll let them know. A lot of them know. So we're trying to, first and foremost, we'll kind of figure out if we can do that, and then
Right.
and then we'll figure out
Okay.
whatever logistics are appropriate. But we do expect, obviously they're going to know because there's a lot of people here, and they'll kind of have a.
Entertain a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the road closure for the listed day and time.
And I'll second. Oh, I'm sorry.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Like, all opposed? My vote is aye. You want to do, comments? I think we'll take the rest of the comments first, or you want to? Okay. Michael Bingham?
Good evening, I'm here with Eric Consulting, and we have put together your stormwater ordinance update. I'm sure each of you have taken a very detailed look at this ordinance. A couple of you on here, I've seen it, some of the meetings we've had. Basically, the purpose of this ordinance is to bring you up to current standards. Your existing ordinance is missing a few appendices, things that have gone missing through the years, and it's simply not possible to find them at this point. And it doesn't meet the current DEP requirements. This particular ordinance has been reviewed by DEP, and it meets their current requirements. Your solicitors reviewed it, and has been okay with it. And the York County Planning Commission has also reviewed it. So that's really what I'm here for. If you have any questions about the ordinance in particular, or if there's anything that you have any questions about in it, feel free to ask.
And it meets MS4, which is, we're being proactive by instituting this ahead of being told we have to.
Absolutely. It meets MS4 requirements, and I specifically asked when I submitted it to DEP if it met their current MS4 requirements for this permitting cycle, and they said, yes, it does.
You know, so there's a provision to make it, if it's not a real complicated project, you can do it a different way. And we for every subdivision, I guess, then our engineer would have to review and then decide which way to go with the developer.
Yeah, so not all stormwater plans are land development plans. It could be somebody wanting to add a deck or a shed or whatever to their property, so it wouldn't necessarily go before a land development project. But there are different phases of the stormwater plan. There's what's called an exemption, which I believe the threshold for an exemption was 240 square feet. And then there's a minor plan that goes up to, I believe, 2,500 square feet. It's either 2,000 or 2,500 square feet for a minor plan. That's a plan that does not require an engineer to get involved. There is a prescribed method in one of the appendices that tells you how to do that as a homeowner, what information you need to fill out, and usually what happens is they end up calling up us or the engineer to review it, and we'll help them out with some of those calculations. But the methods are all in the ordinance for them to follow.
This will all be administered through the building permit process, and Wade would be
Yep.
doing all the permitting and reviews.
Yep, he was instrumental in that creation of this ordinance as well.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
The one where you can access to people's property, now is that for violations, or is that for anything that you do, or how is that? I'm just trying to.
I'm sorry.
About access to your property, you know, that you can come in and check things out. Now, I don't know what.
Yeah, there's only access if there is a BMP on the property in which they have a recorded operation and maintenance agreement with the borough in order to access that. You don't have permission to just enter people's property. Otherwise, they have to have written.
Everyone would more or less be grandfathered in. I mean, you have your property now. It would only affect you if you were putting on a in-law quarters or something that would hit the threshold.
Because I just wanted to make sure I understood exactly, because you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
sometimes when you hear that, you know, the first thing you think of is, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's not giving somebody carte blanche access to your property, not at all.
Yeah, I believe under the MS4 requirements, we have a duty to actually inspect after certain events. So that, we need to get in there to do that. So that's why it's in there as well. Because it coincides with our duties as a municipality under the MS4 permit that we would have. So it needs to be there, so to speak.
Yep, you're absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Under erroneous permits, that if one is authorized and approved, the last sentence was a little confusing on how no action can be taken to like validate against that is so,
What section is that?
section 109. The last sentence was just a little confusing. It sounds like somebody did, fraud, but there's nothing that we could do.
Actually, what that means is that we don't have to do anything to revoke that permit. We can revoke it, it just is, it's basically void from the start, because you didn't tell us the truth in the first place. So we issued it erroneously, so we don't have to take any additional steps. And you see language like that in most SALDO's ordinances and zoning ordinances. Basically where if it's a falsified application, we don't have to do anything extra.
There's nothing they could already have done that we would have to
No.
cite or anything like that.
Well, I mean, if someone requested a permit for a deck and then built a room addition,
That's what I'm saying.
we would be able to cite them.
Yeah, and really what that sentence means is nothing we do makes it good just because we did something or said something, because everything was on the basis of a fraud in the first place.
How many people are gonna complain because they can't wash their car out in front of their house
A lot.
under this?
A lot.
You get that a lot? I don't
A lot.
know if anybody
It's-
caught that. I don't have any place to wash my car.
It's something that is coming everywhere. Everybody really dislikes it. It's like a Band-Aid. You just gotta rip it off. It's.
You can rinse it, you just can't use detergent. Are
You-
there
you-
certain bio
You
detergents that?
can wash your car as long as it does not discharge into an MS4 structure. So you can wash it in your lawn, but if you wash it in your driveway and it goes down into a storm structure, it's in violation.
But you can't park on your lawn.
Right.
So that would-
Yeah, that's, well, temporarily. Long-term, can we change that to long-term parking only?
Yeah.
I was kind of taken
Unfortunately,
aback
yeah,
on that one.
that's one of the things that unfortunately, I don't have any leeway in writing this, that's straight from DEP. There are a few things that we can certainly tweak within this ordinance, and we have, for the borough, but that's one that's a requirement for DEP.
Are there cleaning agents though that would be all right? I mean, nowadays you have all these different people selling this and that.
Supposedly, I haven't seen any.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for something, one of the things I use is McGuire's Quick Detail. If you spray your car, or in my case,
Yeah,
truck.
you can just wipe it
Right,
off.
then you just spray that on, and then you wipe that off, and then you put no discharge anywhere.
Sure, the car wash in Shrewsbury, all that.
Yeah, they would.
Under definitions for agricultural activity, it just says raising of livestock. You don't need to define like livestock?
Livestock's, you could, anything that's not within the definitions here typically refers back to Merriam-Webster.
Roasters, okay.
And livestock is pretty well defined.
Yeah, the other thing I think that's fair to say about this ordinance, it does provide the method, the simplified method for doing the planning, because I think that was, when the last time go around went through with your county, they kind of had an all or nothing approach. And this allowed for a modified and simplified approach for people who want to do smaller projects. So that's the other nice thing about this ordinance, is it creates that interim or lesser
Yeah,
standard.
and that drastically cuts the cost of the homeowner, because once you get an engineer involved, we're expensive. I mean, it's just the nature of it.
And that was, I mean, that's one thing that Wade considered too, was not taxing the citizens unnecessarily for small projects.
Is there any interest on part of the council people to have you just sit down, not at a council meeting, but just maybe a work session and go through some of the highlights in here, not page by page, obviously, but just break it down, where you need a permit, where you don't, when you have to infiltrate, when you can't infiltrate, what you do, and just generally go through this so the council people are a little more familiar with it, and they're trying to read it themselves and, make it work.
I'm
I'm just asking.
Yeah, because this was a weekend read.
Yeah, I would be interested in the clarification of some more than technical.
Yeah,
I think that's a good idea.
you set that up?
availability, sure.
Because you're from Lidditz, or is
Yes.
that just your office?
That's where I'm at,
Okay,
yeah.
can we just do something virtual? Is that,
That's perfectly fine with me.
Could we do that here and call it an educational seminar and
Yeah.
not get into,
As long as you're not deliberating, once this is passed, if you want to have an informational session, and you may want to make it open to the public anyway, because if people are interested in knowing what's in here, why not make it open to everybody, just advertise it? That way, if there is some discussion back and forth among the quorum of members, we don't get into a sunshine law violation.
were you talking about discussing it though prior to
No,
adoption?
I'm just thinking if Mike can do an information session for
After.
council people afterwards, so they know what's in here, you know.
Okay.
What needs a
Oh, okay.
permit, what doesn't, you know, what you can infiltrate, what you can't, what do you do if you can't infiltrate? Just break it down into chunks like that. Now,
That'd be
maybe
great.
Ryan has some other ideas too, that's, other thoughts that he'd like to get clarified. Get it all done so everybody's on the same page at the same time, more or less.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I like the idea of doing it after it's passed and having the public come so that they can be educated on it as well.
Someone's interested.
Yeah.
Car wash owner. Yeah, well, I've heard different deadlines, like I've heard different engineers say different deadlines to get this done, so I know you were saying in July, right now.
It's now moved back to September.
There you go, okay.
Okay.
So just so everyone knows,
Then
that's where we're kind of, it was being pushed a little bit.
Right, yeah, I think I'd recommend that we do it before we pass it then. Otherwise, we wind up with, pass the law so we can read it, so.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, if we have till September, just,
Yeah.
and then we can still have an open meeting and the public can come and see what's going on with it. I don't think that's a bad idea.
So we put this on the agenda for consideration for the next meeting?
I think we go ahead and we have our open meeting, maybe we could schedule it.
How long do you think it would take you, an hour to go through that with us?
It really depends on how many questions you have. If
Yeah.
you want me to go line by line in here.
No, I think it's an overview, we already have it to read.
Yeah.
I think if you present an overview on when is a permit gonna be required, the car wash and some of the infiltration issues and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it can be summed up in 5 minutes. If you disturb Earth,
I think if we schedule
Yeah.
45 minutes or an hour.
Why don't, being we all know we're available before our meeting, have an educational session before our next borough council meeting?
Oh, that's fine.
That's what we used to do.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Give them 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah. Is that okay with
So
you?
advertise it for 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
Does that give you time to prepare for?
yeah. And then it'll just be our next meeting, and then we could take action to put out the ordinance after the meeting, and then we're good to go.
yeah, that works. What's the date for that? Yeah.
11?
Second Monday of the month.
That would be the 8th.
Oh, this is the,
6 p.m.?
yeah. Okay.
You available?
I'm available, yep, August
Okay.
8th.
Great, all right, thanks, man. If you want to put out any kind of I mean, I don't want you guys to do a lot of extra work. I mean, if you just want to talk to it, you can. If you want to put out an outline or something for everybody to look at before we have the meeting, that's fine too. Whatever you want to do.
Yep, all right,
Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you.
Can we talk in this public comment session?
Can we?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we just did.
No, can we bring something up?
Does it have to do with this?
No.
Is it on the agenda?
No.
Is it something that, what is it?
I'll tell you what it is, and you can tell me if I can't say it. I just want to go on the record to say that when I think Mary Ann and the Recreation Commission were put on a break and somehow figuring out the one dry part of the day that it gets worked.
Right, yeah.
Thank you to that.
I agree. We could have done that on the record. That's good, yeah. I like that too. It was great. I had a great time. I thought it was
I
good.
figured just
Good
as
event.
much oil and sound when the rain.
Public comment?
Jenny Newbauer, 45 South Constitution. Am I correct that the park does not have a physical address?
Is it one playground alley?
Oh, it does have an address.
That's what the address we've been using.
Okay, so we had an emergency at the carnival, and when we called 911, they told us there was no address, and they couldn't ping our phone, and it was like a whole thing. So the police just radioed. So I don't know if we need to verify that that's an address somewhere.
That's the second time.
It said Playground Alley when the call
I
came
wanna
through.
find
She
out.
was not, I mean, it could have been the operator, but we really had a hard time.
Now, last month, we were at the tree dedication, that little boy was lost,
Yeah.
same thing, Carolyn was telling me where, you didn't know where it was.
Why don't we put up a sign somewhere that
Well,
says,
We're talking tonight,
Here,
no,
keep
tonight.
my
verify
friends
with
not
them.
taken away.
GIS and get it updated because they use the system.
It should go right
I
in the
know,
system.
I know,
Right. I'll take care of
one thing that happened, when they were doing the plans for the VFW, whenever Weathersfield comes up as March Goodfellow Playground on some of the county maps.
That, it comes up on Google, I
Google.
think.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a county map, it's Google.
Okay.
I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just a
Yes, yes,
general
thank you.
question, should it be the alley, or should it be like High Street over here where the parking lot is? A little bit more?
South front.
Well, it's not on High Street, that's Arrow Oil.
No, I'm saying the parking lot.
Oh, the parking lot
Yeah.
is,
It's a little bit more known. I don't know, I'm just,
yeah, but that would be the address for the parking lot.
If it's Playground Alley, it's because it was assigned that way in the assessment database, the GIS, so,
so it'd be easier just to leave it like that.
because when they pull up, then it should go right to ping it,
Okay.
so that's,
Okay.
but Andy can, as long as they get it coordinated through the county
Yeah.
GIS, I think it'll go the whole way through.
It should.
Yeah.
Mind if I come forward?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
You just flip that mic up, Stan.
I'm Stan Walters, and now that all the Ts are crossed and the Is dotted, I am the Borough Emergency Management Coordinator. You'll recall that you all went through the exercise of becoming part of the regional EMA. And so I just wanted to introduce myself, say hello, and let you know that I will occasionally come to your council meetings, but I'm always available at your invitation if there's something specific you want me to come and address. I do communicate with your borough manager email-wise, hopefully pretty regularly, and also with your mayor when there's an incident of any kind. So, good evening and thank you.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate you taking the time to introduce yourself.
Could I take a second?
Sure.
I would personally like to thank you, Stan, for all your diligence, your effort, calling me at the incident at Summit Grove. I know we probably had, what, 6, 7 different fire companies out for that. As soon as the word got out, you were on the phone to me. We started with EMA and coordinated that. That was an excellent effort between our police, fire, EMA, sheriff's office, everything. And I know you had a lot to do with that, and it proves that it was an invaluable resource for us to join Schema. So I thank you for all your efforts and everyone else that was involved with that incident.
Thank you.
I have a question. Thank you for all you do, Stan. Back in February, we had a lengthy discussion on snow emergencies and who can call them. And I just want to clarify, it was discussed that you call snow emergencies for New Freedom?
I do not. I would refer you to your solicitor, who's going to be the best person
I thought
to
that's what it
answer
was.
that.
He was the
Said
first
borough
one?
manager and
Well, unless he was available. Wasn't it what came out of that meeting in February? that-
Well, it's the emergency management director, which it doesn't define who that is.
well, we already had a vote, I mean,
Well, I
this is
wanna-
actually supposed to be public comment. I mean, we already had a vote, we made a motion, we decided it was going to be the borough office that was gonna call.
Well, that's not.
So if you'd like to put it on the agenda at some,
No,
for
I
some
just thought in
future
that,
date,
in
that'd
that
be
meeting,
fine.
it was discussed that it was Stan, and then if he wasn't available, and that wasn't how it was?
Okay, well, then it's Andrew if Stan doesn't do it.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
I'd be happy to work with whoever needs to do it.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you, Stan.
And good job.
Anything else? once, twice. Okay. Next up is approval of minutes for the council meeting held June 13th.
Could we add in,
I have to get a motion
Oh,
first.
sorry.
That's okay.
make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second.
Can I get a second?
For June?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Just to add in under the intergovernmental, that Kim and I attended a tree ceremony that Elijah Goodfellow.
And I also attended Glen Rock and Shrewsbury's Borough meeting. I don't know if that makes a difference. Oops. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I did attend all three meetings, Glen Rock, Shrewsbury, and Stewartstown.
And that was mentioned during that meeting?
Yes.
I also reported that the VFW had a great Memorial Day event that was attended.
Anything else? Any other discussion? Okay, with the changes as just presented, we're voting to approve the minutes for June 13th. All in favor? Opposed?
Abstain.
My vote is up. Okay, treasurer's report, which was tabled for May 22.
So I went through,
I'll make a motion that we approve the May 2022 treasurer's report.
Second.
My second.
Discussion?
I went through and listed the questions that arose during the June council meeting regarding the May treasurer's report. The first was the Comcast property lease. That's for property across from the wastewater treatment plant in Railroad Borough that's owned by New Freedom Borough. That lease was renegotiated and approved by council back in 2021. There was a question about in the Highway Aid Fund. I think it was clarified, but PB is People's Bank, not pickleball. There was a question from the general fund, damage to Marge Goodfellow Park. This actually occurred back in 2020. Insurance funds were already received after the incident. The repairs were made. Kinsley was just extremely slow in getting us the invoice. So revenue did not match expenditure by 2 years there. So,
Was that the tennis court? That wasn't a tennis court.
no, it was down at the parking lot. There was a question on a return check fee. That was one check. That is the amount of the check plus the fees that were assessed. That's not the entire fee. So when you see that amount in there, that's the return check, original amount plus the bank fee. I think there was a question on the vehicle purchase, which I didn't understand because council had approved the purchase of the solar message board the month before for the exact amount. So the $17,000 was the purchase of the message board as approved by council the month before. This had nothing to do with the purchase of the vehicle for the office.
That was my question. To me, it says vehicle purchase. That's
Because
what I
it's in
was-
that category.
Yeah, that's why I questioned it.
There was a question about PayPal. This is not being used for sewer, water, and refuse payments. Sewer, water, and refuse payments are handled directly by the billing company's third-party merchant processing. The reason we're using PayPal is we can integrate it into our GIS software, our permit tracking software, any other permits and things that we're tracking through GIS and on our website. There was a question about fees. PayPal, under their user agreement, does not allow the merchant to charge back the fees that are assessed by PayPal. That's not permitted. So, yes, we are absorbing, you know, if it's $100, maybe a $3 fee, but it far outweighs having that money processed and taking care of that as integration into our GIS system. So those were the questions that didn't seem to be answered and that were outstanding. If there's other ones, I can try to address them.
Do we have a new lawn service one for the borough?
No, basically what happened is that company dissolved and the other one absorbed their contracts.
So the fee stayed the same?
It did stay the same.
Okay.
Who is the new
Uh,
company?
Jesse.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
He
Good.
actually absorbed all of Jordan's contracts.
That's why he can't move from my mother.
That's fine. And Crystal Conrad received $900 the month of May for cleaning the community center. What does she clean there?
Common areas. So she's not responsible for cleaning of any of the leased spaces. But that could have been, there might have been an extra week in there that there was normally, yeah. So it's weekly.
I thought it was like 600 a month, there's like an extra
It's
3.
150, I think it's 150 a week. So that's probably coming up. So if you look, that's covering back to March, April, into May.
What do we consider a common area? Just the
Yeah.
hallways?
Hallways, bathrooms, auditorium, because that's.
She
really-
does do the auditorium?
That was in question.
It's a dry mop, and I know that's been an issue, and I mean, I don't really think that needs to be discussed on the treasurer's report at this point.
Okay.
But we will handle that internally.
Right.
Anything else? That being said, no changes were made, so approval to approve, approving the May 22nd treasurer's report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Motion to approve the June 22nd treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion that we approve the June 2022 treasurer's report.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
There was a progressive insurance claim for $4,200.
That was for damage to the electrical box at Freedom Green. Back, Bonnie, was that February? I believe it was February.
Is that the one right up against the wall, Marlins?
Against the garage, yes.
Would you know how it was damaged?
Vehicle drove into it.
I heard about that.
So we had the repairs done, and then that's the payment coming in for the repairs.
From their insurance company?
From Progressive, yep.
And for the rec fund for revenues, I see a gold sponsor donation, $1,500. What is gold sponsor?
We created different sponsorship levels for the rec commission, so it includes different categories and certain size banners at their events.
So that must be crescents.
It is crescents.
Okay.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah. They spoke about that. And then what repairs were done to the street sweeper for $3,300?
It needed, we had some issues with the brooms and the vacuum at the bottom, and there were some adjustments made to it, so it's a specialized piece of equipment and it doesn't take long.
It gets regular maintenance, was that considered, you said adjustments, is that considered maintenance, or was
No,
it
it was,
broke, or?
it needed repairs.
It needed
It
repair,
was not all maintenance.
okay. And then the vehicle purchase, again, the vehicle balance due the $3,600?
That was for the one, for the office, yes.
Okay, so that, And was it a SUV before and that got switched? I was confused on that, like when I asked in January or something, I thought it was something else.
Yeah, no, you're correct. That was, originally, yeah, it was supposed to be a Chevy Equinox. They told us that it'd be a couple of months, and then the follow-up was, you'll be lucky if you see it at all. But we can switch you to a Ford Escape, which was still on CoStarz, and pretty much the same features. So.
Any other discussion? Okay, to approve the June 22nd Treasurer's Report, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, next up is a review of the traffic study for Dickinson Court, which was previously tabled. I have a comment about that. I've had residents come up that have lived there for 30-some years, and they said they've never had a problem there before. We're taking what's almost a neighborhood dispute and turning it into spending $120,000 on widening the road, or spending some amount of money to put up parking signs. And really, we're going to be going into that neighborhood and telling all the people on one side of the road that they have to go park in front of their neighbor's house, and that's not going to create a comfortable situation at all. I know if somebody came to me and said, all your neighbors across the street are going to park in front of your house from now on, that wouldn't make me happy. I guess from my libertarian roots, I don't think we really should be involved in this. I really don't. I mean, the bus company has already figured out that they're not going to go back to the cul-de-sac anymore. They brought the bus stop out on the other side of the issue. The trash trucks, while they're not happy about having to fit through a narrow gap, they can do it. And in fact, if you go drive down Dickinson, I think right now, can't tell you for sure, but yesterday anyway, the vehicles have been moved around such that there's no problem anymore. So I guess my question is, do we as government want to get involved with, and I think safety vehicles can fit through too, because if the trash truck can fit through, that means you can get the fire truck through. I measured it, so I'm pretty sure that's the case.
If everybody's parked exactly perfect.
If they're parked, but see, they've moved, you know, now they're parked illegally, but they've moved. So the box truck is now parked in the yard, the RV is parked in the driveway, and the other truck doesn't really matter because it's along the side of the road. So there is no problem as we speak right now.
What's to say that's not gonna change next week?
Well, there isn't anything to say.
Dismiss this and say,
I mean, you're talking about a neighborhood that has had, according to the one guy, 37 years of no problems. And because one person or two people create a problem, you're gonna punish everybody in the neighborhood. He doesn't want that, it's made one side, and he doesn't want to widen the road and lose part of his yard. I'm just putting it out there as a discussion point. I'm
I
not
thought we
saying,
decided we weren't going to widen the road, that we were going to just put no parking on the one side, and that would eliminate it.
well, we can review the traffic study. I just wanted to throw it out there because enough people said that they didn't want anything done, that I thought it was important that I say that.
Why didn't they come here to the meeting?
So they did. I mean, they're here now. They can stand up and talk for themselves too. I was just trying to summarize what they said.
What I was told, it's only been in the last half dozen years it's been a problem.
Right.
And people have lived there for a long time and it wasn't a problem. Now, the only exception or comment I might make, Andy, is that winter maintenance, if they have to run a snowplow out there, we don't wanna be paying for damage to cars. So I mean, maybe they have to do something to get the cars off the road, so Donnie can get a snowplow through or a cinder truck or whatever, because it's, you know, it's hard to plow with that.
Well, maybe what we want to do is pass something that says, if you don't move your car in the event of not even a snow emergency, but just so we could Donnie can get the plows through, that you're gonna get cited, and it's a whatever dollar fine. That's that people if you don't have the sign up. Right, Andrew?
Yeah.
I mean, the
Right.
police
Well,
won't cite them.
You could make it no emergency, and that's why, if you look at the packet here, you have sections in chapter 207, vehicle weight limitations and truck traffic limitations. That would be another alternative to regulating traffic and parking on Dickinson Court at much less cost to the borough than widening the road. It's an option.
I had a conversation with Andrew and Kim when we had our sign meeting, and it was a proposal to have a weight limit so that because these are like Ram trucks, you know, heavy-duty trucks are wider than a passenger car. So if you had a weight limit on the street, say I've got a F-150 or 250 and I have a passenger car, that, by putting a weight limit on there, I would have to put my truck in my driveway, but I can park my passenger car that is not as big as a pickup truck in the street, which would alleviate the situation in
I
conjunction.
thought weight limits prohibited the vehicle from being on the street.
Yeah, you can't be.
Parking.
allowed to
Drive
No,
down the
it's-
street.
Parking.
No, it says operation.
Under this section, it
Yep.
would be, yeah, it would be.
So they couldn't get the truck home.
Well, doesn't this one deal with the box truck? Is that what this one is dealing
The
with?
second one is commercial vehicle, but it does say operate. The first one, 2719, it says operate, should be unlawful for any person to operate on any of the highways or portions of highways, as the case may be, any vehicle or combination having gross weight in excess of the maximum prescribed for the highway or portion of the highway.
Can't you
So-
amend that to be parked instead?
No, it's, the weight limit is for the street, and the traffic study would have to go back to the street to show that it can't handle more than that weight. You can't just make it up and say we put a weight limit on here because we don't want X truck. You have to have a traffic study.
Or maybe not a weight limit, then a size. Are you able to do a size
No.
that it would have to be in your driveway?
No, it has to be tied back to, I mean, parking, stopping, standing, and weight limits are all, I mean, it's pretty squarely in the motor vehicle code and the borough code, what you can do and can't do. So you can't really prohibit one versus another unless you can tie it back to a engineering traffic study as the reason therefore.
Dave, is there like a,
I'm
this is,
sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Inga had her hand.
I met with our congressman about a week
You're
ago.
kicking it upstairs, aren't you?
No.
I'm kidding.
I wanted to hear facts. And because people have spoken to me about all this building and the traffic and everything, and I'm driving around and it's gonna get worse and worse the more we build, of course. So I said, there has to be a way around that. Now, he came up with, if I were to, and I will be doing this because we represent the people of this community. So go home to house and see how they feel about it with a clipboard and get the signatures. What does that community want? How do they want us to handle it? Then, with all the signatures, present it to the council. Then the council votes, and of course it's, I need 4 votes at that point when that happens. So that would kind of make it fair to the citizens. I feel we need to serve the citizens more.
Wait a second, your
They're just,
Congress,
with the parking and everything, it's chaos downtown, and it's gonna get worse.
so your congressman told you to do a petition to
No,
find out
I
what
said,
people
is there, I talked to Ron Miller and I talked to Mr. Schmucker, okay? because I'll be open, Ron Miller and I are good friends. Because I wanted to see if there is a solution for the people. Because I feel some of the old people that I spoke to, they feel that they don't have a part. And I say, no, that's hogwash. This council is for the people.
Are you talking about doing this just for Dickinson, or are you talking?
I'm talking about as the building goes on, period. You know, what is happening to this community? You know, it was already decided, the building was already decided, it's happening. And it's gonna, it's terrible with the parking and everything else. And there's growth, which brings in business, sure, it brings in taxation, brings in business. But we ought to feel that the citizen out. For some reason, we really don't have a lot of people that show up. You know, we maybe need to advertise or something, please come to a meeting. You know, we can discuss what is good for you. Now, I think, you know, we should give it some consideration. I said I would bring it to you and see how we would feel about that.
For Dickinson or for
Dickinson,
in general?
Dickinson.
Well, I think we had an open format. Everybody on Dickinson was told to come who wanted to speak, so we had this room
In other
pretty
words,
much had the room full of people from Dickinson, right? I mean,
all your
So-
people, you all agreed with the way it is? Okay.
well, when the last meeting,
I
we
can
had
say
the room
much
full of
better.
people.
I think she might have been absent at that meeting.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, we had, the room was full of
Yeah,
people.
so
Well,
this is-
okay,
this is-
I wasn't here.
And most of the people, I think, were pretty much, you could speak for those people, but no one really wanted to have one-sided parking, and nobody really
Yeah,
wanted us to widen the road.
Yeah.
So that was the general consensus. So I'm sitting here thinking, it would be nice if there was a silver bullet that
Yeah.
we could do, but I don't think there is.
See,
Where our hands are
okay,
kind of tied by the people.
I'm just trying to find that silver bullet.
Right.
Because I want these people, many of them tell me, well, it's no sense, it's done, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want this community to feel that way, just because.
I don't think they did it, they were here.
Yeah.
Were there
Well, I
30
didn't- I
people from
was-
Dickinson?
Yeah, I was in
Yeah, I
the
know,
hospital,
but I'm just
so I
saying.
wasn't here.
So I'm saying,
The
for
school bus-
Dickinson, I think.
The school bus will no longer then go down.
Right, they will not go down.
Well, that helps out
We're
Right.
there.
gonna,
And you, Donnie, you don't,
well, then
Tommy here?
I
Yeah.
apologize because I wasn't.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
And I don't wanna cause any problems, it's just, to me, we work for the citizen.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was doing, was following up on
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
said.
Yeah.
We're looking at ways to widen the road
Yes,
or
yes.
for parking, but they don't really want that. They just want you to leave them alone. So
I'm a nice person.
until a tractor trailer decides to park in front
Should we
of
deal
the
with box
house.
trucks
and-
in residential?
I think that might be something
What's that?
that we could do,
Box
but you
trucks
still have to
parked in
allow,
residential.
you still have to allow for deliveries, but parking.
Oh, well, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
They do that all
and
over.
that's what we can do, right?
Yes.
Davis,
But again, he's got it off the road and it's parked in a yard right now, but yeah, we can do that.
That's different, yeah.
Okay, all right, I stood.
Yeah, I'd like to move forward with.
Yeah, I think we should do it.
I had a question for Dave. Are we talking about a grandfather issue now that there's the trucks there? Now we're gonna pass an ordinance that says you're not supposed to be there. You can't
It's
be
not really
there.
zoning related, no, it would not relate, if you can regulate parking and, we change traffic sign, we try to change speed limits, traffic, stop signs, all those things all the time, so there's no grandfathering in that circumstance.
I mean, it's obvious the focus here to change it to weight limit, et cetera, is because of one property owner, apparently.
I guess, yeah, it sounds like it.
All right.
Anyway, but yeah, I agree that 20720 would be the least intrusive, and that would be a good way
These
to go.
intrude, yeah.
Yeah.
For all. And would that be on all residential?
I don't see why not.
Because
What, are you, problem?
Again, it has to be tied back to the traffic study that supports having a weight limit.
So,
But this isn't a weight limit, it just says you
We're just
can't
gonna
park
do the
a delivery vehicle.
20720.
I mean, you know, as an example, on Matthews Court doesn't have an HOA, but it does have covenants. And one of the covenants is, my son can't bring his panel truck and park in front of my house.
Right.
That's a covenant, but this would be a law or an ordinance as opposed to a covenant. It's actually the one in the middle, isn't it?
A question, the truck in question is not a delivery truck,
It's a box truck.
it's a box truck.
It's a box truck.
Are they interchangeable terms?
No, not really.
He's not delivering locally,
Wouldn't you put that?
he's parking it permanently.
Box truck?
Am I right? The box truck parks there permanently, that's his,
Yeah.
It's moved very seldom.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in the box truck or what it uses it for. It's
So-
there.
Yeah. How would you define,
Let me ask you a question. What if it's his personal vehicle that he travels back and forth to work in?
Or a company car.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that he's permitted to use.
Because then it's
Yeah,
not
like,
being
we don't
used-
have driveways, so where are we supposed to park?
I mean, I think that's what gets.
That's a
stuck.
legitimate question.
We're
that
talking
is, it's a good question.
a 10,000 plus pound box truck is what we're talking.
I
Well, what,
understand that, but there
what
are some
happens,
people-
what happens when her husband comes home and wants to park on Constitution and he's driving a truck that's obviously, it's not, you know, it's in one of those categories.
It's
We
when we
have-
have the
we
community
have,
center, we have the parking lot.
Let's see, we've got a.
I thought about that too,
There's a,
letting
right
park
across
up
from
there.
Butters.
I'm sorry?
The Maryland utility, what is,
PG&E.
BG&E,
BG&E,
there's a
yeah.
BG&E truck that parks
Yeah,
probably 5 feet from the stop sign,
Well, that's his company truck.
okay?
Well, that's what I'm
But-
it's still up, it's,
It's,
I mean, some of the vans have really high, you have to do what you gotta do, but like, are you gonna let 20 people park at the community center? Every night?
There's plenty of room up in that
In the gravel part.
little gravel park.
Do you have that?
Right.
yeah, I don't.
That's a
think we should
whole
be-
liability
50.
issue right there.
Yeah.
yeah, seriously.
And we got trucks parking down in the parking lot regularly now too, right?
Yes, there are people that live on Front Street that park there.
No, I mean, big trucks.
He's got a.
There's tractor trailers.
The
Tractor
tractor
trailer.
portion of the tractor trailer.
Yeah.
On the Marge Goodfellow, on that parking
Yeah,
lot?
Right, the
That
big
municipal
parking
lot, right.
Man, that shouldn't be, because that's all millings, that
Well, it's
isn't
been
even
there
a
for a
real
while.
road.
Yeah, it's true.
You talk
Probably
about a
gonna
weight
tear it up.
problem, that'll tear it up.
Yeah.
Now we got another problem.
I mean, to speak,
Another problem is Constitution Avenue. Remember PennDOT said, you know, when they were tarring it, or, you know, that they would fix it and then they reversed, they weren't going to fix it. Now, whenever I go there, you see these big 18-wheelers, sometimes bumping, lot of traffic. And of course, as the houses are being built, do you have a little bit of concern for that? What that's gonna do to Constitution Avenue?
That's a state road, that's their problem.
Okay,
The
The issue is reviewing I believe it says, review the traffic
There you go.
results on
Tickets.
Dickinson Court. So I mean, those are all valid
Yeah, I
points,
just wanna
but
know-
we just need to put them on the agenda for a time
Okay.
when we can actually talk about
Because
them.
I'm worried about it.
Yeah, no, I think that that's something that should be on the agenda for next month.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So for Dickinson Court, do we just have to act on which of these things in the traffic study should be applicable?
Well, I
Or
mean,
not act at all?
there's, the point that was brought up by Jenny is, do we want to do this for all roads? If we do this for all roads, we're going to be impacting a lot of people. The BG&E truck,
yeah.
you know,
Case by case?
Jenny's husband's truck, you know, it depends, you know, I mean, are we going to, you know, so that's the question.
Well, I guess there's been a complaint on this, so take it case by case. We're dealing with Dickinson. Leave it to Dickinson.
And then I feel like we're singling individuals out, like why, if they're gonna restrict it on that street, why can't they restrict it on this street? I think something like this needs to be
Yes.
It's complaint-based.
Well,
wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna have to, but we don't have a problem with snow plows and garbage trucks getting through on on South Constitution or North Constitution, you know, some of the alleys, yes, and we, you know, they don't use alleys for the garbage trucks.
Well, you haven't had a problem with snowplows on Constitution this last year, have you?
No, I mean, we all work together, we move to
Right.
the other side of the street, you know, when they come down, and then.
The key words there was working
You're
together.
right.
I mean, that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do here is legislate working together.
Well-
And I'm not sure that we can do that.
Not gonna work.
If we don't work together, we know that there's gonna be a problem, so we try to work
Absolutely.
together. Some people don't,
Right.
you know, I've got a car on my street that's not inspected and the mirrors are broken off, you know, it's.
So where are we headed with this discussion?
Just a
What I've heard, I'm sorry.
No, just a reminder, the traffic study indicated to post one side, no parking.
I was gonna say, what, because it didn't list any weight, anything like that.
But you'd have to do, if you wanna do one of these other things, you'd
Yeah.
probably have to do a new traffic study to make sure it supports whatever action you take.
And I don't think we need to go, I don't think we should go down that route of another study.
I don't think weight's a problem there. We're using one thing to, if you use weight, we're using one thing to get rid of something else.
Yeah,
That doesn't have anything to
A
do with.
lot of municipalities will do that to try to get the truck traffic because they have a traffic study that'll support a weight limitation. That's, sometimes they'll use it as a roundabout.
Isn't that more for through streets, not a dead end?
It is, it typically
Yeah,
is.
so the other thing I keep coming back to is, I think it was at the first time we talked about this, there's an individual who now has to walk to the end of the street to get to the bus stop with their kids, where the bus used to come down
Yep.
to the intersection of Dickinson.
I had to
and-
walk 2 miles uphill both
In the
ways.
snow.
I think we have a problem because this is saying unlawful to operate. And you can't, that's gonna be a tough, I mean, because now you can't get your motorhome down the street to your house because you can't operate it on the street.
Well, this one's listed as limited commercial. I think where you get in, that, and so it could be limited.
It says other than passenger vehicle.
Yeah, but it says prohibit the operation of any commercial vehicle or truck on any such street.
Where are you reading? I'm saying, I see it says unlawful for any person to operate any vehicle other than a passenger vehicle.
Okay, yeah,
It's up to 16 feet.
but that's, I think that's arguably a passenger vehicle, right? Because
No,
it's
because
for residential, I mean, it's not for commercial purposes. I think you have a tough time, you're starting out to discriminate about who can drive what to get back and forth to their home.
Isn't part of the problem still that 21-foot truck?
It's not parked in the street right now.
Right now.
So now he's parked in his yard, which he's not allowed to do.
Unless he would get it paved and either abide by the setbacks or apply for a variance, correct?
And you think he's gonna do that? Until he does that, I think we can always go back and change this. I think like you said, we know we've got kids that have to walk to the end of the street and,
I don't think kids walking to the end of the street to catch the bus is a problem. I mean,
Well,
everybody
I
walks.
don't know how old I don't know if you know the neighbor, how old was the child? And I think the grandmother was watching her son also.
I think those are the two neighbors that are having the issue, Nick and Thomas.
Okay, so more like the middle of the
I don't even know
neighborhood.
how old the child is, but the bus never came in the cul-de-sac. It would come down Dickinson to
And then make the left.
Wilson and
Okay, Wilson,
Casey.
thank you.
Mhm. So I guess it doesn't come down there now.
so now it won't even come down that
It
far
won't
and
come
go to, what is that,
No, because it
Oxford?
would have had to pass the vehicles that are
There you go,
across
yeah.
from each other. Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
no, I don't
I'm
think
from
that's
Wilson
fair.
down, there's not a big problem, and it has been, I mean, the last 7 or 8 years. We've been there 27 years.
So
20
they,
years, there was no problem.
I'm sorry, so they walk down to where the other road comes in?
That's how
and
it
then
was,
the
and
bus makes the
apparently
turn.
then Jenny's granddaughter has to go to East Main and Dickinson instead of,
I mean, you know, at some point, I mean, you end up writing an ordinance, is it Jenny? Jenny? You're writing an ordinance for Jenny's granddaughter, so she doesn't have to walk down the street.
Yeah, but if not her, there's gonna be somebody else new that moves. to the
Yeah,
neighborhood eventually.
what if there were
But
20 kids
hopefully,
in
that
this?
situation will resolve itself.
If it resolves itself.
Hope,
I agree, like, I would hope everybody would work together to come out come up with a situation, I'm with you,
I
that we
think
shouldn't
we've
be doing
proved it.
more, we should be doing,
Yeah.
in a sense, less, I don't mean literally.
There's a few children down our end, I don't know where they walk to. Across the street, there's a little girl, and at the end, there's a couple.
Right, I don't know where
They go to Keezy, or they go.
they might be having some go to, to come down,
That's where
get
our
on the
kids used to
Keezy.
take the bus.
Our girls used to have to go there.
Kesey and Wilson?
So let me be clear on this for just a second. What we're saying is, other than a passenger vehicle, that means that he is allowed to drive his RV down the street, because it's not commercial.
We haven't really
That's not
defined,
passenger.
we haven't defined passenger, unless
Motor
it's.
vehicle.
And what's that defined as?
Yeah, I think it's up to 16 passengers.
So,
Basically, in your bus.
So he can or he can't drive his RV down the street.
That's not a
an RV.
passenger.
If it's commercial, if you can classify it as commercial.
Well, I mean, even his box truck, I don't know that you can, I mean, there's no lettering on it. Can you classify that as commercial?
I don't think so, I think if it was properly labeled, I think it would say not for hire,
Right.
meaning it's
Oh, you mean-
it's a personal, what he uses for dirt bikes or
It
whatever.
depends how he registered it with DOT.
Yeah.
It's a commercial license or not.
Cause like if you own it not in a business sense, like in your, it depends like what your business is set up as.
So
and
if
how
he
you
just has a
register
truck
it.
tag on it,
But
it's not
if he
commercial.
didn't, right, so,
I don't know.
yeah.
So we need to find out what the definition of a passenger vehicle is.
We already know
It's
that.
in the motor vehicle code.
16 people, you said.
so if it carries 16 people.
We're sure what?
Yeah, we looked that up.
Oh.
We're in a meeting.
Was it?
No.
Smart.
I think he does have some comment on that truck about not.
Yeah, if it's not for hire, it's, I'm not gonna definitively say, but I don't believe it's a commercial vehicle, because anytime you have a commercial vehicle, you'll have a DOT, usually it says DOT along with the number that's associated with it,
Right.
with that company.
I just can't go along with allowing somebody to violate one law to,
You mean parking in the yard?
yeah, parking in the yard. I mean, we don't let, we've towed people for that. Now we're gonna let somebody do it because it,
Yeah.
and we did a
We
street
have three-
study
we
that
have three
says
people
parking on one
Dickinson.
side.
There's 3 people on Dickinson parked in their yard right now, plus a trailer that's in the right of way. I mean, you give me a ticket pad, I could walk through this town, I bet I'd have it empty by.
I'll bet you could.
I mean, seriously. So I mean, it just depends on what you want to do with the ordinances. Do we want to impose them on everybody equally? Because I'll write a ticket for NCR down there because they got a truck parked in the green right of way that's either
Yeah,
your
but
county
isn't that
parks.
prop- is that
No,
their
it's not their
property?
property.
Oh, I thought that
It's
was
part
their
of it's
property.
part of it's on our property and part of it's on York County parks. But we don't do anything about that. I mean, you've got to treat everybody equally.
Same, that's right.
So,
I agree.
What's the definition?
Yeah.
of equal.
Maybe not.
Passenger car, a motor vehicle except a motorcycle designed primarily for the transportation of persons and designated for carrying no more than 15 passengers, including the driver, and primary used for the transportation of persons. The term includes motor vehicles which are designed with seats that can be readily removed and reinstalled, but does not include such vehicles if used primarily for the transportation of property.
So
I would
People
say,
on property.
arguably, an
A box
RV
truck.
could be a passenger vehicle.
Well, depending on how many people you think would fit in it. But the box truck, I think you could say, is primarily designed for transporting property. So I think box truck would fall under that definition. So I think we could.
Shrewsbury just passed an ordinance about RVs because they are not passenger vehicles.
Well, based on that, I mean, it depends on, how do you determine how many seats it's designed to carry? Because if it's based on, like, seats, or is it based on roof? Because it says you can take seats out and still be.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't.
Can't put people in the back of the box truck.
I agree with you there, but I think the RV question is a different
I
one.
think we need to stay focused on the box truck.
Well, I agree with you, but in order to write this, it's saying other than a passenger vehicle. So if the RV is not classed as a passenger vehicle, that means people who have a passenger or have a RV, like up on Washington, there's RVs parked, 3, 4, 5 of them, I go by all the time. So if you stop them from taking their RVs home, are they supposed to go rent a place? They're not allowed to have it on their own property?
Well, in the ordinance for RVs, are they allowed to park there for like 3 days while they load it and so forth, like some?
That's what Shrewsbury is now doing, 3 days in a matter of a year, I think it is.
Usually it's overnight. Usually a vehicle cannot be parked more than overnight. If the zoning ordinance violates the length and height.
So they would have the ability to park it overnight.
In the front yard, in the driveway. Other than that, it would have to be behind the front wall of the house.
Which several of them on Washington have it behind the front wall of the house.
Travel trailers.
The travel, yeah.
It seems to me you should decide whether or not you want to address the issue on Dickinson Court and then figure out the best way to get there. Right? So is it by doing the 20720? It doesn't look like we have any streets that are actually identified in there.
Correct.
So we're not enforcing this, and it's not in place anyway.
It's reserved.
But could we make it just for Dickinson?
Yeah, I mean, you do that all the time with, I've never seen actually an ordinance like this, to be honest, in other municipalities. Because you really are singling someone out, and that's the hard part.
That is. I think that somebody, possibly Wade, should go talk to him about getting a permit to put a pad down, to put his box truck, to put, to do things the right way. That's what I think should be done. I'll leave it at that. I'll let.
But is there a law that says he has to do that? Isn't that what we're trying to do here?
Well,
It's the setbacks.
But you can't make up a law to, as Dave said, you can't make up a law that goes after one person for, that you want him to do this, so you're gonna pass a law to make him do that.
Well, only because if you do it on streets narrower than 23 feet,
I think,
because there aren't any other streets, our forefathers were the ones to blame for this whole darn thing, because they didn't go by the standard street width,
Yeah.
20 lashes.
well, it was on the plan.
Yeah.
It was 26 feet.
so there is a 3-foot, there's an additional right of way.
Yeah, oh yeah, we could,
Additional
we
right.
could make the street wider. I'm sure there's a
They
reason.
didn't build it that big, but you can build it to 26.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they didn't see that it was built to the 26 feet.
I don't think it.
Didn't you say it's 18 feet at some point?
No, 19, right?
19?
What action can we take here to wrap this up? Because we can't
Table it until we.
Till what? What is our action though? What are we planning on doing? We shouldn't just table something without a plan of action.
I think your idea to have it Wade go out, talk to the guy and say, if you want to park on the grass, you can't park on the grass, you gotta have a paved surface to park on.
Yeah.
Do that, there's a permit for it, come down to the office, get a permit, get it done.
And it could just be gravel. It doesn't even have to be a paved part of the driveway. It could just be a pad, gravel, permeable pad, right?
And maybe he'll do it and say, whatever it takes to get the borough and everybody off my back, happy to do it. But I think that's the first attempt, try that. The guy says, go fly a kite, all right, well, we got fair work.
Why don't we table till the next meeting and find out?
Okay, I think we should ask Wade to do that, and then we could table it till the next meeting, pending Wade talking to Nick and finding out if he would be amicable to putting in a parking pad for the box truck. gets the box truck off the street, makes things safer. Ambulances, fire trucks can get through, people can get through easier. I just think it's the right thing, like you said, it's the right thing to do, and we're trying to
And I know the fire chief and I have had several conversations about it. He's not comfortable being able to get equipment through.
All right, so everyone's agreeable to table it, and Wade's gonna talk to them. March Goodfellow Park improvements,
There's really no update, I don't, we're still.
we're gonna do the site,
Yeah,
overall
we're still,
site plan.
I would say
Okay.
continue to do
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Southern Regional Police Department Third Amended Intergovernmental Agreement. Lots of things to say about that. That intergovernmental agreement, we decided to advertise for an ordinance. However, Glen Rock has, and this is a later on agenda item, but I'm gonna combine them because it's all applicable. And anyway, so Glen Rock is chosen. We got correspondence from Glen Rock that says, "Dear Chief Boddington and Southern Regional Police Commission members, Glen Rock Borough Council is requesting a meeting with Chief Boddington and SRPD representatives to discuss the borough's transition to an hourly rate customer. Council has authorized the Public Safety Committee members and Council President to begin this discussion on the borough's behalf. Respectfully, Glen Rock Borough Council." And we were copied on it, as well as the other participating municipalities, which is Shrewsbury Borough and Stewartstown Borough. The problem with this is that I'm not sure, did the police commission say, I know there's a goal. The stated goal is, the goal of the negotiating committee will be to discuss Glen Rock's request to determine next steps. The goal of these discussions is to provide long-term stability for commission members so all of our communities can continue to enjoy the level of excellent police service and coverage as we currently do. When they say negotiate, are they talking about negotiating the withdrawal as well as the contract?
That's going to be the discussion. It seems like they have to withdraw before they can come up with a new, they're in till the end of 2023, beginning of 2024.
And the mayor and I
no matter what.
discussed that before, and I'm in 100% agreement with the mayor on that. I mean, they can't just say, switch us to hourly, because there is
That's what
a
they're
long-term
looking at.
obligation issue. There's the withdrawal, if they notify us, actually notify the police commission by October of '22, they can't withdraw right until December of '23. So they really are in the police commission at least for another year. So I would think that the crux of negotiating the contract with them would be the hourly rate and the number of hours they're going to purchase. I would hope that it would not be their long-term obligations or when they're withdrawing, because that's already defined by the IGA.
Well, one of the problems is they're talking about whether they can, and you may know a little more about this too, whether they can take the old IGA and change it before, make addendums to that, before we come up with the new IGA, since we're still under the old IGA.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry, he actually asked you that question. Go ahead.
I mean, you're currently under the old IGA as of now.
Can they still change that?
Can
Make
you
an
use
amendment
that?
to the old
Sure,
IGA? the-
sure.
the
If you follow the
commission.
process, yeah, you commission.
But the commission can't do it without municipalities
Right.
Approving
voting on
it, right. So
Approving.
you have a chicken and egg issue, because if Glen Rock
That's
wants
exactly right.
out, right? They don't like the withdrawal terms in the IGA because they're a little harsher, I believe, than they were in the old.
That's
So
true.
they're gonna get a vote on it, they're gonna say, well, no, we're not gonna change the IGA.
Well, they've already turned down the new IGA.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, you kinda have an issue there as to what comes first, because Glen Rock will just block you the whole way if you wanna keep those IGA provisions, the withdrawal provisions the same way. Because it's more of a penalty to them if they get out. as revised.
Right, I don't anticipate, that's why I think we can't even really discuss the new IGA, because that has Glen Rock in it. It can't be approved the way it is written now,
Well, not,
so.
not, I thought
I'm just
Stewartstown
saying-
also had issues with it.
No.
No,
think
I
so.
thought that's what Peter said.
Yeah, Peter, they sent some concerns, and I think it was just wordage to Peter, and I don't know where that ended up.
Yeah,
But it wasn't anything substantial.
I
it
don't
was just
believe
wording.
so.
Yeah.
They didn't say what
Okay,
it was.
yeah, he just said that they hadn't approved it because they had some concerns.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I heard.
So, anyway, the new IGA notwithstanding, because it doesn't really apply to this situation. There is the withdrawal, which is basically the 12-month plus 4, October, November, December.
Yeah.
And then the long-term obligations, which are wishy-washy, but still have to be
Yeah, I was gonna say,
defined.
which we can't define anyway.
Right, you
so-
can't define those anyway, but you still have that, so they're still in it for a year. And then I think, I guess what I would like to see, not that it's entirely my business, but what I'd like to see is the goal should be negotiation of a financially equitable withdrawal and a fair and equitable hourly contract. That's really what you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
The other stuff is just,
Yeah, the other thing is you guys have made a motion back in the fall or the winter, right? That
Well,
you
just
wanted to see the IGA amended by
September.
before you would consider the new budget.
well, yeah.
And if not, we were going back to the old PPUs.
Right.
Now,
So
we
there's a lot of-
take a
There's
look at
there's
this.
a lot has happened since
Right.
then.
I mean, if I can interject, I don't think any of us want to have to pick up Glen Rock's share, splitting it 3 ways. If we can get them in and they say, look, we'll go for $300,000 a year with a 2% raise, that's sure better than them not being in at all and strictly going with state police. That's what this committee's gonna have to come to terms with Glen Rock, what's acceptable to them. They haven't even told us, okay, we have a dollar figure in mind. I talked to Roland, their council president, he's got some good points. They have some major infrastructure problems. They've got the mill race, they've got a wall that's fallen down in the middle of a stream. They've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in repair work to do, and they don't have the money to do it, and they've got the highest tax base, I think, of anybody in southern York County. They're 3.65.
Yeah, rate, you said base.
Okay, right, they're 3.65.
Where's their money going?
They don't have as many, the population isn't as high. They've got a lot of rental properties, the value, all this is based on the value of properties. The values of property in Glen Rock certainly isn't what it is in New Freedom, it's not what it is in Shrewsbury. And they don't want to tax their citizens out of Glen Rock, which will bring in more people that buy a house and turn it into 2 more apartments. It's a vicious cycle, it's a dog chasing its tail, unfortunately.
But I guess my only point is we can't take on the long-term exit obligations. That's not,
Nope.
no. And in fact, I mean, I almost hate to say this, but I mean, you run the risk of other people deciding to leave when you start taking on more and more obligations. It's kind of like, well, geez, if they can get an hourly rate that's good, why can't we become hourly? And
That's been brought up in
and
the
I think
past.
Andy was saying that's what happened in North Codorus, was it just dominoed.
Right.
So I don't want to see that either.
Well, there were some different issues with
Well, I don't know that the 3 remaining municipalities would do that.
I don't think so either.
You
I'm
know-
just saying, you need to make it, that's why I use the words fair and equitable.
Right. The
Because
point-
as long as it's kept
The point,
fair, I think.
the point came up, say they decide they just can't afford more than $250,000. And we pitch in, Stewartstown pitches in, Shrewsbury pitches in, okay? We're gonna get more and better police service in our areas. We might be able to go back to having a bike patrol. You know, we're gonna get the bulk of the hours, those additional hours, which are good for our communities. We can have some guys down there playing basketball with some of the kids at the, you know, they'd have the extra
I'm not
time.
signing an NBA.
You know, NBA contract, you know, they've done it already.
right.
They get out every now and then, they play ball with them and they make them clean it up. But I don't wanna see us lose Glen Rock completely, but this group is gonna have to come together with all of us and the commission to see what we feel is gonna work.
I don't think there's anything we can pass tonight. We have to see what they're gonna do in their
Oh, no, we
negotiations.
absolutely.
So all we're doing is speculating what's gonna happen.
We're just
Oh,
letting you
yeah.
know where
I-
we are in the process.
I think I just wanted it on record of the intent of the negotiation committee. I think that's important, because I don't think they can negotiate out the withdrawal.
But we don't even know if they wanna withdraw, that's the thing.
Well,
They've already said they do.
there's,
They wanna do an hourly thing.
Right, that's what.
they want to transition was the word that they used. We would like to transition our municipal membership to an hourly without having to pay the exit fee.
Did they say that about the
They
FFP?
said it to me.
Well, that's, but see,
I
that's
heard
the
that the other
point.
night.
See, if that's what they're thinking, is they don't wanna have to pay the exit fee. I don't know how you get away from paying long-term pension obligations.
Correct.
There's too many loose ends with that. There's too many loose ends with that,
Yeah.
with that obligation.
It almost seems like though you have to have that done before you can negotiate the IGA.
Yeah.
Because you don't want Glen Rock in the mix if you really want to get what we, the remainder entities want the IGA to say.
Well, and that's why IGA is probably gonna either meet once a month or just not meet at all until this is set.
Yeah, I can't imagine why you would wanna meet until this is settled, number one. And number two, I think that you need to come to some, I mean, keep in mind, anything you negotiate has to come back to all the municipalities anyway. So it would just be nice if we were all on the same page going into the negotiation instead of being presented as something that we were gonna have to end up rejecting in the long run. That was my point.
So we're part of that negotiating thing, right? You're
We
doing
are.
it, Kim?
No,
I am
the-
not.
Erica
I have,
and Donna
not
from
that Erica
Stewartstown.
doesn't have a lot of meetings, but I just can't do one more meeting.
And Mike Sharkey is the third. Okay. New business. Sorry, any other discussion? Oh, sure.
Has anyone initiated contact with pension actuaries to try to get some of those long-term obligations?
Yes,
Doing-
we did that already the last 2 years we've tried. And apparently that, the actuaries do that on a 2-year basis.
Well,
They only do it
That's
every
not-
2 years and they will
that's
not
not
do
the
it
same
in
thing.
between.
that's not the
Yeah,
same.
they do a calculation based on, they do an actuarial study based on the exact situation at the time, come up with what the long-term obligations are and how you spread them out, because that is something that North Cadorus and Southwest Regional did. There was a
That
lot
would
of
be
time
maybe
and effort
something for you
made.
to bring up at the
Yeah.
meeting, that's tomorrow night,
There's
right?
gonna be a cost for it,
Yeah.
but.
Well, bring it up
That cost.
and see if they're willing to do that. That's gonna be a cost to the commission.
Well, he's saying it's a cost to Glen Rock because they're withdrawing.
Well, see, they haven't said they're withdrawing.
Well, they're transitioning.
We don't have a
They're
withdrawal
transitioning.
letter until October. They have to have a withdrawal letter. Now they want to negotiate the transition before they come to us with a withdrawal.
But you're-
If they don't do it now, they can't withdraw after the new IGA for 28 months.
the new IGA can't be approved without Glen Rock, and Glen Rock's.
Well,
not
it can
approved.
be, we don't have to put Glen Rock in the new IGA.
Well, if they're members,
There.
if they're members, you do.
But they may not be members at that point.
So you gotta.
We're kind of talking in circles. We gotta find out what the negotiation committee is doing first, I think, to find out what Glen Rock's position is. And then maybe we can figure out what to do here.
Yeah.
I think Erica knows what she's doing.
Yeah, they won't be a voting member. We've already decided there will not be an hourly voting member.
That's inaccurate.
I'm sorry?
We haven't decided that.
Well,
We've talked about it.
the commission has talked about
Yeah.
Question
it. Sir?
to Kim and to Erica. I was obviously at the meeting with you folks. I left the meeting and it wasn't clear to me at all whether this meeting tomorrow is open to the public or whether Sharkey is carrying away the day and keeping it closed to the public under the guise of negotiation. What's your understanding of the meeting tomorrow?
My understanding it was open.
Okay.
Well, that's
Your
not,
understanding?
that's not even necessary, that's not even one of the exceptions under the sunshine. It has to be contract negotiations with a union or personnel. It can't just be any contract negotiation. This is an IGA, so.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
this
know the
is
law, I
kind
don't,
of-
but Peter Ruth was there and didn't question it.
Okay. So maybe they.
As far as I'm concerned, it's open to the public, but
Okay.
if I can be there, I will be there. But I
Peter's on
doubt
vacation, so
whether I will.
he's not going to be there.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? No, okay. Consider approval of application for payment for final.
Final.
Final, yeah, take that. Hurry up. I said final, somebody said yes. There we go.
Need a motion, correct?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we pay the fourth and final installment of $146,408.63.
I'll second
it. And a second. Discussion?
The, just quick, the breakout is $86,608 general, $57,739 water, and $2,061.63 in sewer. And this is the 5% retainage that is being held. Reminder that we are holding an additional term bond, performance bond for this project.
What's the bond amount?
It was equal to the paving for 1 Constitution Avenue. I'm drawing a blank on the amount, but we were holding that for, instead of 2 years, 5 years.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. Well, it's better than them having to redo the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, next item up is authorizing advertisement of an ordinance for stormwater management, but we tabled that pending the meeting. Okay, consider authorizing advertisement of an ordinance approving the, well, we already talked about that.
No. You need to.
Oh, for municipal, I'm sorry.
I make a motion we authorize the advertisement of the ordinance approving the intergovernmental cooperative agreement for municipal planning.
Motion,
Second.
and a second.
Question? Yeah, on, I guess under Exhibit A, Article 4, it says there's associate members that can be added. Is there a limit on the number of associate members can be added? I mean, how big can this thing be? You know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of organizations that apparently can potentially add a member.
Yeah.
spread the cost more.
So, exception of voting or holding office, so they get input into the regional comprehensive.
Yeah, but
plan.
you want to have 20 organizations or 25?
Yeah, I see the point. I think the only benefit is that the commission looks like it would have to vote to accept them, so. I
It just-
voted for all the rest of the members.
You know what I'm saying, you can get to be something
Yeah.
that's unwieldy and trying to get something done. That was one question.
About the municipalities that are listed here, would it be restricted to them, or is it open to others if others wanted to?
The formation of it would be these 5 municipalities.
Correct, but then after that, if somebody.
It would have to be, the reason that this is being done by ordinance is because New Freedom, we had talked about this about a year ago to join, so it would have to be another ordinance. I don't think there's anything in here about new membership.
Typically, that's the way the IGA works.
Right.
If someone else comes on, they have to be approved through an ordinance
Okay.
by all, passed by all the municipalities.
Well, that's what we did with the police.
Yeah.
And schema, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. So I think that's okay.
I think that was the only question
Two more.
I had. Uh-oh.
Okay.
They both relate to the same thing under Article 9, Finance. And the second line says, shall be agreed upon by each municipality. Is that 100% agreement? Is it just a simple majority? And same thing under Article 13, financial transactions entered into by the commission will be done with the consent of the governing bodies. Is that 100% consent, 50, 75? They all have to agree.
Majority or easy? I just put it up, I was sitting on the table.
Nine and 13.
13.
With the consent of the governing bodies, but majority, you know, anybody?
I mean, I don't know what was intended.
Yeah. Doesn't really say.
So under meetings, it says, action taken in any meetings will require the majority vote of all member municipalities present.
Oh,
So I don't know if that is what's intended or not. I was looking for to see if there was something here about voting. So under section Article 7, it does say, action taken in any meetings will require the majority vote of all member municipalities present. So that suggests it's just a straight majority vote, but I don't know if that
Well,
means.
it's actually less than majority, I mean, you got
Yeah.
50%.
Yeah.
50% would be 3 municipalities, right?
And it could be 2, it could be 2.
And two could carry the vote.
Yeah. I think it's a question worth asking to get clarification, but
The other question I have is, if you're just counting municipality as one vote, now, for instance, we live in Freedom, I'm fine with the Freedom Borough, but Shrewsbury Township has got, what, 4 times the area of the rest of municipalities combined, but they can get one vote.
so that's always the tension with an intergovernmental cooperation agreement. Who, you get more votes for having more money to play or more residents, or do you equal it out like York County's taxpayer does and go 1 to 1? So that's always you're giving up a little something to get into a cooperative.
I guess if Shrewsbury Township doesn't have Hartford, then I guess it's all right.
I think they drafted this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Shrewsbury Township drafted this.
Yeah, and then
This looks like
everybody went out
something
to
Tim
everybody.
worried about. Yeah, Tim, this is a CGA agreement.
Well, that's all I had on
Looks like Shrewsbury Township is paying 85% of the cost also.
Question? This, I think, related to your question, Denny, I haven't seen this agreement at all, but from the question you're asking, is there a part in this agreement that talks about if you have a misunderstanding about what's written in there? We have a similar thing in the police intergovernmental agreement, which talks about making a vote, but it doesn't talk about how to resolve a difference. Is that anything in there? For example, in the intergovernmental agreement in the police under Article 12, it says if you don't have a common understanding of how to interpret a part, you take a vote. But one of the things it doesn't tell you to do, right now you got 4 people, how do you resolve it if it's a tie vote? Do you go to court? I mean, do you get arbitration? What do you do? Is that applicable to those paragraphs?
It might be.
So it's probably not as applicable because the way, I mean, it says how the costs are gonna be proportioned. And if it's multiple municipal planning, it's just gonna go, I mean, it's the planning aspect. So I don't see there being as many hardcore disputes, so to speak, Bruce. But it does talk about the fact that there's all financial transactions, for example, entered into the commission shall be done with the consent of the governing bodies unless otherwise specified by the code, and the code is the MPC. Under the MPC, there's actually a dispute resolution clause.
Okay.
That talks about like fees, like professional fees and so on and so forth. So, again, this is the first time I'm seeing it too, so, but I think that these are usually a little more loosey-goosey because they're not quite as, I'll say, controversial. After the plan's done, you don't have a long-term relationship, so it kind of goes away at that point. So.
But let me take one incident, Dave, to start.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I'm just saying that the multi-municipals I've seen, like Dover Borough, Dover Township did it, Paradise Township, Jackson Township did it at one point in time. So they kind of worked cooperatively to kind of get the best bang for their buck on the planning side, so.
Everybody has that attitude, don't
Yeah,
they?
this isn't gonna cost us that much money.
For a comprehensive plan.
Plan, yeah,
Oh,
I mean, it's
God.
really, so I think everybody's saving so much money on this at this point, but,
Just asking a question.
yeah, no, you're right, absolutely.
Has a whole withdrawal section. Good. Very long withdrawal section.
Are there penalties?
It just says under no circumstances will the amount of money returned to the municipality exceed its contribution, so it actually sounds like there's some money coming back.
Two of the things on resolving things, they're gonna have public hearings if they need to also.
Yeah, they do.
And they have an agenda spelled out, so.
And they have a commission that they're gonna, there's findings and determinations done by the commission, so. Andy, was there any discussion about doing a joint advertisement to try to save everyone money, or?
No.
Like having a quorum of everyone at one location at one time to pass it, or is this just us being added?
No, everybody, I believe everybody's passing a similar ordinance to how we're doing. So, but I'm not sure where it is on everybody else's schedule. It just kind of came out in the draft and we're moving forward with the start of the comprehensive.
I mean, sometimes I've done that with 2 or 3 where they get together in one spot, so they just have to be one advertisement at one night. And that's the only thing on the agenda for wherever that location is. So it's kind of get together, do it, it saves a lot of money on everyone advertising the same thing 5 times versus once, but.
Well, we're just approving to advertise tonight, right? So we can certainly call and
Yeah.
see if we can all save the money to.
Yeah, it's not setting a date, it's
Yeah.
just authorizing advertising.
There's no real gotchas, right?
No,
Yeah.
look, this is a pretty standard IGA when it
Yeah.
comes to multi-municipal planning. It's probably, if I remember correctly, based on, there's a county model that they had out there that
Right.
ICPC uses. So it looks fairly straightforward. The only weird thing is, I think intergovernmental cooperation requires 10 days versus 7 days notice.
It is laid out.
Yeah, there's a longer advertising period. For
Oh, you mean just to advertise the order?
Yeah, you have to advertise it like 10 days in advance. It's some weird number. Why not make a longer system? That's a gotcha.
Are there any other questions that? Okay. Can a member get a motion?
You did motion second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, approval of public playground, that's hard to say, public playground safety policy.
What's that?
Somebody else want to go?
Make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the public playground safety policy statement?
Second.
Question?
Any discussion? This is something we probably should have had in place a long time ago.
Yeah, I have a question. The third, I guess, the third bullet point down, is that gonna be a budget item, because it says provide reasonable resource to ensure prudent and timely inspections? So, I mean, you'll have to have, I guess, a budget item for it, and it's maybe a guess in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, normally any kind of routine maintenance is gonna be covered in our budget. And I'll be performing the inspections, so that's just part of the, yeah.
Can't imagine we do that.
Does that require certification? I know there are certifications though for playground.
He's a certified,
You're a certified
Certified.
Read your
playgrounder?
manager's report from last month.
I missed
Yeah.
that. Yes, he is a certified.
The insurance company does it too, right?
Yeah, and honestly, in that course, usually it's a mix of insurance representatives and municipal representatives. Yeah.
And there are already guidelines in place and we just have to follow those
Yeah, it's
guidelines.
Consumer Product Safety Commission and STM standards. And those are guidelines. And then you have your federal ADA regulations as well.
So the prudent and timely inspections are, frequency is up to you, or is there a little?
Yeah, there's a difference between an audit and an inspection. So an audit is done once the playground is installed or
Right.
there's a change in guidelines. Inspections are done high and low frequency. So your high frequency is maybe raking back the mulch, like the rubber mulch, I don't know if you noticed, but it's getting out onto the poured in place safety surfacing. So that'd be something that needs done, checking checking the wear mats on the swings. Your low frequency is gonna be more, making sure all hardware is properly installed. But yeah, there's a difference, and we'll go through that with all the staff and make sure that they're
Okay,
aware of it.
all right.
Yep.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye.
Yes.
Crosswalk.
So,
Do you have that?
yeah, the crosswalk bids were to be opened today at 10 o'clock. Unfortunately, I think because of the way labor field is right now, as well as the time of the year, we received 0 bids. So we will be re-advertising that and hopefully have a different outcome for the August meeting.
How much does that cost to re-advertise?
So we've got to run that ad twice. It's a consolidated ad, and I think the last time we ran, I want to say it was under $200, because I take it in bare minimum.
Now, the interesting thing is, under Act 18, it says you only have to wait 15 days for bids. So that's almost, I'm not really sure, after the advertisement. So you're really pushing that 2 weeks. Right? You have to basically run it a Friday and a Monday or something like that to get to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Act 18 just was passed this year and addressed non-receiving bids. You have to bid twice. If you don't get bids, if you don't have to bid the second time around, you can contract with somebody, you just have to announce the terms of why it's on, so.
Contact cancel?
Yeah, we did.
They did bid?
Yeah.
It's probably too
Wow.
small. right?
Job.
Probably is, yeah, I would guess, this time of year anyway. Okay, so that's tabled until next month. Consider approving purchase of radar speed signs. A motion?
Are these portable at all?
They are, we were, well, who wants to?
Go ahead. Well, we should have a motion to talk about it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion so we can vote.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
What we did was Shrewsbury Borough was going to purchase these, let us know about it, and we got together. I had met these folks at the PSAB convention in Hershey, and we thought we might be able to get a better price if Shrewsbury buys several and we buy several. We're fast approaching a time in this town where we've got a major problem when it comes to speeding. Infractions all over, and these signs, I think Andrew had looked at them before, and these signs are gonna be of great benefit to the safety and welfare of children and the residents.
How's that work, Mayor? Because the police can't write a ticket on
Yeah,
this,
that's-
right? If you want somebody to slow down, you write them a ticket. I guarantee you they'll slow down in Freedom or wherever else they're driving.
The problem,
Take information.
this gives us information. This is basically the same unit that they were using across the hall. It has all the radar. It takes 24 hours a day. It will record. There is a cloud, what do you call it?
I think it's safe.
It saves everything to the cloud.
Yeah, I
from-
understand it, so that the police.
Well, a
will
lot of
be able to
people
see
don't-
when if
don't,
there's-
but-
If they're speeding, when's it occurring? But then if that's the case, you have to.
What it's gonna do is it's gonna say if you're speeding, it's gonna flash a strobe, it could say slow down, but it'll also give us the information that we need. Logan is a perfect example of the complaints that I'm getting.
Yeah.
We put something up there on Logan, and we find that when school comes in, that people are going 50 miles an hour up Logan to bypass, then that gives us a perfect opportunity to decide, we might want to put speed humps in there to slow things down.
It's not gonna work. If you can get something, the police can write something and get it.
They don't have the time, that's the problem. You have to have two officers, we don't have radar. If we had radar, this is radar, but they take, I think it takes two off, well, it doesn't, but they can't jump in their car and.
I have a question. Can we put up like a camera ticket thing like they do in?
No.
No, can't do that.
That's the only place you can do that in Pennsylvania is
Philadelphia. Is he, seeing
But
world?
this will allow them to know where it's occurring, so then they can go out there at the times that this is occurring and be able to.
And hopefully slow down some problem areas.
Is it there?
What's
Sure, if
that?
they sit there, they're gonna slow down people.
I mean, yeah, if you give them all the data they want, but if they don't have any teeth to bite with the ticket.
So in other words, the police can't write a ticket for anything.
Yeah.
Pretty much. They won't even write a ticket up in your area for that guy that's sitting 5 feet from the stop sign.
I still don't understand that.
Well, I don't either, and I've brought it up 3 times.
Just to clarify, this sign that's in your quote is not a full matrix sign. So what you're going to see during driver feedback, when that's initiated, is just gonna be your speed at the top of the sign. And then based on parameters that are set in the sign, it could change color, it could flash strobe, it could just come on with your speed. But the one that's quoted here does not provide, it's not a full matrix, so it's not gonna say slow down.
But it'll
That-
record the data.
Yep,
Yes.
But once somebody
24
goes-
hours a day.
I thought we were talking about 2 signs, when you and I talked last.
We are, we're looking at
So
2, and
they're up.
Shrewsbury is looking at 2. That's
So this
why
is
it
a
says
quote for
4,
Okay.
because that gets
Just
us,
wanted to make
yeah, that gets us the discount by purchasing
Right.
4,
So
2
really
for
it's
Shrewsbury,
5.
2 for us, and we're gonna pick up the order, and then Shrewsbury will pay us.
Yeah, 10%, yeah. So our cost is 5.2.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's,
No, it's half of the 10.4.
It's solar.
Right, it's 5.2. And it's, they certainly can be moved anywhere in the borough at any time that we feel
But as soon
necessary.
as somebody goes by one, no matter what it flashes at them, if 2 days later they don't get a ticket in the mail or something to say,
They don't know they're not gonna get a ticket in the mail, though, that's the thing.
yeah, but eventually they'll know they're
Being
gonna get a
recorded,
ticket in the mail, they're home free.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna expect to get a ticket from these, because they don't get it from the one they pass through Glen Rock.
Shrewsbury already has 2, Stewartstown is using 4, Glen Rock has 2, and they swear that it slows down their traffic.
We just went up on Mountain
And that's the
Prairie Road.
main thing, to slow down traffic to save our residents.
I'll say two things. Number one, I support it. I think if we can help it all, I think it's a good thing. But really, the only people that slow down when they see this are the people who go, oh crap, I didn't know I was going that fast.
And every
Like
single,
me.
and every one of us do it coming in North Constitution Avenue. I remember O'Brien said, you know, I looked down, I was doing 55 coming into town. We all do the same thing. It's real easy. You're thinking about something else, the radio's on. And especially coming down off of Main Street, we've had multiple incidents there with the new people in town, with Franklin Square. Now that we've got Franklin Street blocked off.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
I think it's a wonderful.
And 5.2, it's $5,000.
Well, Parkton, by the Parkton School, I got a ticket.
Yeah, that's right, that's.
Is that what you got?
Is that what you
Yeah.
I came from the American Legion.
We were able to get
I
4.
got the ticket.
Are you driving,
Free.
are you
4
driving
free
slower now?
batteries also.
Are you driving slower now?
Well,
Parkton.
You really do. I mean, you're 100% right. You need
I
a
need
way
to
to
let
get
the dog
tickets. And you can't
I
get
think
tickets to
that'll
back it up with some bite.
They're talking about that right now.
Gives you a citation.
There's, well, there's several things in the Senate that right now that will probably allow us to be able to integrate these into that. The other reason I think this is so important, and it's unfortunate, the ones that we have used these before with the police department. The problem is theirs are so old, they can't get new parts for them. I made a motion last year that they go ahead and purchase another one so that we had 3. Now we're down to 1. The police department has 1 that they can use. I think we're kind of on our own at this point because they don't know what their budget's gonna be next year. They use them quite often. They're very
These
successful
stay
in
in
giving the
Newford, right?
information.
Just to be clear.
These will stay in New Freedom. They're ours. They don't go to Stewartstown, they don't go to Shrewsbury, that's why Shrewsbury's buying.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
How are you gonna assess effectiveness, I guess, by complaints or monitoring?
Well, no,
speed?
you'll monitor, it'll constantly be monitored. He'll get a report whenever he wants it. At 4 o'clock every day,
He's saying where are you going to put them? Like we already know. you're gonna-
wherever we decide. Wherever there's a problem, I guarantee you, one's gonna
So
go
it's gonna be
unloaded.
by complaint. Because we've had complaints on Singer, we've had complaints on.
Singer is a
Yeah,
perfect
Singer.
example. We've already had several accidents up there because people are just flying. They missed the stop sign, and that'd be a perfect place to put them. I mean, we can put them different places.
I'm not opposed if it slows traffic, anything to get the traffic slowed down, because now there's poor kids spending time playing in the street where they shouldn't be, but Be that as it may, I mean,
You're right.
drivers on cell phones pay less attention.
That was the problem, that was one of the problems we had in Logan, up on Logan. The leases, my kids are learning to ride their bikes and they're, kind of go out of the driveway and they end up in the street.
Is there any other discussion?
We were able to
Have a
get
motion and a second.
four free batteries included with it.
Okay.
So what?
So
We
that
were
was
able
with,
to get four
Four free batteries. These are solar. They're solar.
They're
and
everywhere.
it's rechargeable.
What costs a lithium nowadays,
Cool.
Probably get stolen.
Oh,
all right, so that was for the one model. What
Well,
about-
This is for, this is only, we're
So we're
only
doing one
talking
at a
about,
time. Okay.
yep.
All right,
this is the addition to the,
no, I'm sorry, I missed the G. I apologize.
yeah, sorry, this is for that. So, it'd be $5,200. All in favor? Opposed? My vote is aye.
On the third page of that, we need to discuss.
Which
along with-
warranty?
Well, so it comes with 1 year, 1 year of cloud service. And basically what that allows is remote access and manipulation of the parameters of the sign, data download. So additional years are in that chart there. Then the second option would be the warranty, to extend the warranty past 2 years?
36 months.
Well, past the first. It comes with a warranty. And then this was an extension of that warranty.
How long is the initial warranty?
1 year.
1 year.
Is this a 36-month warranty on one sign or on all four?
That would be on one sign. And I can tell you, working with these signs for a couple of years, I'm not sure, there's more benefit in the cloud service. This is not, hopefully I don't need this, but there's more value in the cloud service than there probably is in warranty. When you're looking at a warranty and the cost and, $2,600 sign.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to pay half again the cost of the sign for a warranty.
Right.
I always say no to warranties at Walmart, so I'm gonna
Just
go.
Walmart?
Well, anywhere pretty much. So the cloud service is for, now are we?
We split that?
Per unit.
Yeah.
Let's use that. That's per.
Per unit,
You
yeah.
go
So it's
six-
4+ units, but this is price per unit, I see.
So you do get a break the number of units, but I guess
Getting a break on the
the
contract.
only
right?
problem is we need to know if Shrewsbury is going to approve the cloud service.
I know they are, but I don't know for how many years.
Can you access the data without the cloud service?
You can, but it's Bluetooth.
Wi-Fi.
You have to go up with your phone and.
Okay.
So do we have to do the same amount of a warranty or service with them?
Seems like it's per unit, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because, we're only, I guess, contractually doing the units with them.
It just changes the
Why don't
price.
you just call Brian and, check and see, but we can approve for 2 units tonight.
For the higher dollar amount.
Right,
it's
yeah.
less. Okay.
Yeah, because he's got to run, they've got to run it through their council next week.
So,
Their
7 years.
traffic calming is already.
350. So it's $1,400 times 2 would be $2,800 for cloud service for 4 years.
There is no 4-year,
Well, it would
40
be,
units for 3 years.
or 4 units.
Yeah, 4 units for 3 years, I'm sorry.
but the first year's free, so you're actually adding 3 years.
Okay. So it'd be 3 times 350, right?
Per year.
All right. So I had it right the first time.
That's 21.
2,100, yeah.
But basically, that's 4 years of service you're paying for each year.
No, so it's for 4 units, okay, I was see, it's 4 units.
Yeah,
It's like two.
It's only two.
Yeah.
so 7.
So it'd be 350 times 2,
It'll be 700
times 3 years, would be 2,100, right? All right, makes sense. And you've used these before, you said?
Well, four signs at one time, yeah.
Okay. You were happy with the cloud service?
Absolutely.
All right. I'd entertain a motion for 4 years of cloud service. Motion years. Motion and a second.
Second.
Wait a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I vote aye.
Thank you.
Go one.
By the way, for the record, the school was closed, it was 8 o'clock in the evening. Because in the daytime when I go there, I'll be very cautious because it wasn't school. It is a school.
Oh, you went back to Maryland, I got you.
The radar module.
I didn't know what you were talking about.
Radar module on the
I just want to
sign.
make it clear, I don't want to
I
say,
got you.
you know,
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
casual with kids.
Item G is consider approving purchase of the radar module for the mobile message trailer at a cost of $14.95. I mean, I think,
Now, this basically gives us a whole nother one of what we just voted on.
Just much bigger.
Much big, yeah, much bigger. So this.
but then it's gonna
puts
also, so like if you had it up at the farmer's market, you wouldn't be able to do the farmer's market sign plus.
Actually, you can, because I don't know if you noticed, the last 2 weeks, I had it programmed to 3 different signs throughout the day. So you could run the farmer's market sign for 8 hours a day. You could actually pick your busiest times of travel, run the speed. I mean, it kind of defeats getting the
Yeah.
message out to the farmer's market, but you could alternate messages throughout the day as many times.
Do you think, could a speed limit parameter trigger the speed limit to pop up, kind of circumventing the farmer's market or whatever you have on there?
There are ways to program certain script in there, so that's a possibility.
Okay.
So it'd be
I
truck
can't
by
give you
the
the answer.
speed.
I can't give you the direct answer without getting in and
Yeah,
playing around with
I
it,
gotcha.
but that's a good question.
Okay.
So it basically override, there is an override sensor in there, or script in there, so.
Yeah, because if, just say, post this at a 35-mile-an-hour zone and you're going, just say 45, then it pops up.
Instead of farmer's.
Slow down,
market.
not go ahead. You could have some fun with that.
Creative.
Creative.
That's all gets affected. Because it's fun.
And this is basically plug and play, so it's mounted on the message board, it plugs into the computer that's on the trailer.
You already have access to that, so you
Yep.
don't really need it. This would be just the only cost would be the $1,400.
Yes, yeah.
And that gives you the same information that we're
Same
looking at
reports.
on the other ones. 24 hours.
I make a motion to purchase a silent messenger for $14.95.
Second.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Actually, I do have one quick question. Who would be installing this? Is that something
Yeah, they'll just ship it to us, and
Okay.
it already has the mounting plate on the board,
Yeah.
and then it just, the wire goes
Gotcha.
ready.
Okay.
Okay. Open burning.
So, in talking with Andy, we thought we should just come up with some very simple open burning ordinance. We can do them with bells and whistles that allow for permits and exceptions and whole lists of things. But I think what I heard Borough Council, what we heard Borough Council saying is you want something that's easily understood and enforceable. So that's kind of what we tried to come up with. It does, and it allows recreational fires for pleasure, religious, ceremonial, cooking, warmth, other similar purposes. Then an outdoor fireplace, barbecue grill, barbecue pit, chimney, or other container, fire rings, do not exceed 3 feet in diameter and are located at least 15 feet from any building. Otherwise, open burning is not permitted in the borough unless it's for one or two, can be for performance of official duty or the prevention of a fire hazard, which can't be abated by any other means, or protection of public health.
Are we currently under a burn ban?
No. Under a burden ban, you can't
Right, it has that in there.
use
I know, I mean,
them at all.
before this.
So this would allow a fire pit, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as it's.
My and I didn't read the whole thing yet because we just got it tonight. My problem is I feel that it needs to be, follow some of the other ordinances which say it must be covered with a screen, with.
That's up to you guys. I just gave you something basic.
No larger than, I think it's a half an inch. So that the ashes and everything aren't flying out and catching the neighbor's house on fire or the tree. You're using 15 feet, most of them are 20, some of them are even farther. I think 15's, that works.
I'm not wedded to any of this language. I gave you something to work with, and we can go from there.
I think it needs to be covered only. Fireplace, barbecue grill, they are.
And that's pretty much up to Borough Council, so Borough Council decides they want that.
See, how about those tables, those flaming, I have one of those.
Yeah, I think
That
that
doesn't
that'll
count.
be covered. Yeah, I think you're okay, that's okay.
Is
But
it
that doesn't
okay?
have a screen on it, does it?
I have a marshmallow once in a while.
But that doesn't have a screen on it, right, Inga?
Huh?
It just, it
It's
turns the,
open.
it's,
It's
yeah, you turn the
open.
gas and.
But I have a marshmallow
that's
once in
fine.
a while.
What's the average size of a fire pit?
I think
5 feet, it's big.
I'd like a fireplace.
I have a.
Most of them are 3 feet, I think. I think that's pretty
It's good-
standard.
It's good size.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
That's about what
standard.
mine is.
But I never leave it alone. After the marshmallow's done, I go in.
This is a working copy for people to make comments, and we can add or subtract things to. That's about
But,
it.
yeah.
I don't, personally, I don't think that we need a cover. I mean, where are you gonna go buy a cover? Like, I can't go to Home Depot and buy a cover.
Make one. All you need is a screen.
Oh, mine has a screen.
I think.
Every other municipality I've seen, they must be covered. Stewartstown,
How
Shrewsbury,
many people are actually covering them?
they come with a cover. When you go out and buy a fire bowl, if I had my way, it would only be a fire bowl.
Okay, I've
And a
already got
fire
one.
pit,
I've
you
got
can
one
buy,
in my
you can
patio.
buy them.
Is that what you meant the other day when you talked about smoking bowls?
Smoking bowls.
I didn't understand that.
Somebody turn off the camera, rewind.
So,
Yeah, that's probably agree with him.
The only reason I know is I've got a neighbor, he's got a 3 foot, he doesn't cover it, and I swear before the year's over, his house will be on fire. My other neighbor did catch their house on fire. It melted the siding on the entire back of the building because it wasn't covered.
Were they 15 feet away?
you're not gonna melt siding if
Yeah.
you're 15 feet away.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Trust me, I've had some
It's
good
not.
fires.
You should have seen what they had in it.
Jenny?
Furniture up on,
I think it's more important what people are burning than a cover,
Yeah.
because the covers, the fire goes through, so that's not gonna prevent a
that is a
burning
big problem.
So, I mean, personally, I have fire pits, we install them, whatever, but like, I would think maybe it's important to know what you should be burning in them. Because I too have a neighbor that will burn like trim and stuff that smokes and stinks. And that's what the problem becomes, when you're burning stuff you shouldn't be.
Yeah, if you're just burning leaves.
They tell you what.
The screen is not gonna prevent smoke or the fire from leaving the pit.
If you guys want to do it, go ahead.
One at a time.
As I said, if you guys want to add to this, we can add to it. If you want to subtract to it, this is something basic to start with. Again,
I think of note is, I asked Andy how many complaints we've had, and he said a couple, 3. I mean, we haven't, basically we've had Toomey, the mayor, and that's pretty much it. So I mean,
Well, and the ones that the mayor gets.
Well, I guess if they've been reported.
I've told you about it was after the fact, which we had a guy burning furniture up on Independence in his backyard, in a fire pit. Couches, he had a whole bunch of
Well, I mean,
furniture.
you're not gonna stop stuff like that. I mean, that's just something you're gonna have to
Punish
cite.
everybody.
Because, I mean, even if you pass an ordinance that says you can have a 3-foot fire pit and it has to be covered, if someone wants to burn a couch in it, you're not gonna stop that.
Well, you can, if you say, you tell them what they can burn.
Right, I think what Jenny said is probably the most important thing.
Our current ordinance says what you can't burn.
This says after the effective date of this ordinance, no person may permit the open burning of any material except as follows. And look, if people are gonna be dumb and put plastic in their fire ring or whatever, you can't fix
Yeah, you
stupid.
can't
I mean, I
fix
can't
it.
legislate stupid.
So,
The one that we have now already says you can't burn plastic, I believe.
Okay,
right? Did you look, I'm just, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
Did you
looked
look
at it
ours in
and
Shrewsbury?
yeah, I looked at them all, and I looked at other ones I've drafted in other municipalities that don't have covering on them, and they don't tell you exactly what you can and can't burn. Because it's common sense in a lot of places that you don't burn painted wood, fire-treated wood, or pressure-treated wood. You don't burn plastic or cause smoke.
Start the fire with.
so do you have a recommendation for what is as follows?
It's
I
there.
don't know, I just got it tonight, I didn't even get the
What I
really.
missed?
Yeah, this is a working document. If you guys wanna change it, we can change it. That's,
No, yeah, we're just discussing, I mean, that's fine.
Do you have a question about who would have jurisdiction within the borough? Would that be the fire department?
Any public roads?
yeah.
I mean, I think it should be the police and or the fire department.
Or any other duly authorized agent.
This doesn't talk about material to be burned though, right? Or am I just missing?
It says under regulations, no person may permit the open burning of any material.
Except as follows.
Right. Well, right, that's overall. The open fires may be set for the performance of official duties. If you guys were to put a section in of what you can and can't burn.
Right, I think that's what she's saying is important. You can call it like logs, charcoal, you know, things that are in other clean burning material or something like that.
So you just modify 3, the recreational fire, just
Yep.
add something in there.
Huh?
Yeah,
You
that's,
just add some more words for the recreational fires,
Yeah,
to say what you can burn.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, the rest of it doesn't cover it, yeah.
I mean, look, Shrewsbury Borough has a whole section for permits and other exceptions and.
Well, we
So
did too.
Yeah, but do you want that, or you
No.
just wanna say no burning, no open burning, and you can have recreational?
Well, it eliminates burn barrels, which a lot of people have.
no, I like what you've done here.
Yeah.
This allows people to have fire pits.
Yeah.
And I think if we add something that you can burn logs, charcoal, and other clean burning materials, no couches,
For creosote.
yeah. I think we're good, right?
Okay.
So what do we want to do with this?
Those old railroad ties, they're creosote. I know people that go down and get old railroad ties and burn.
I mean, I can give you a copy of Shrewsbury Boroughs, and you can vote for that if you'd rather.
No, I like
I think
this
this
one.
is a
I
better
think this
start.
is-
Well,
this is-
I'll tell you what I'd like to have, and I do have a copy of it because I gave it to you. I think we should all have a copy of Shrewsbury's and maybe look at what we might want to integrate from that into this, because we get into, did I see where you have, there's some place, I know, but a lot of them that I've read say that nothing can escape from the person's actual property line.
No,
In other
that's
words-
ridiculous, Kim. I don't even want to look at Shrewsbury's if it says that. I really don't.
I don't want my neighbor's smoke 4 houses away filling up my house. That's a nuisance. And we already have a different, separate ordinance that says that. When I come home and think my house is on fire because I can't leave my windows open because it's so full of smoke from the guy 3 doors down, there's a problem. That's a nuisance.
Is that
That's a
person
health
burning
hazard.
in a small, in a 3-foot?
Yes,
fire pit? Huh.
because you don't know what he's burning, and he's using charcoal fluid to keep it burning, and the flames are 4 feet high.
Well, then that's an entirely different situation. This addresses that. It says you can't do that.
Well, that's, like I said, I haven't had a chance to read it. We just got it.
Why don't we table this till the next meeting?
Why doesn't everyone look at it and give
Yeah.
comments back, and we can talk about drafting
Do
something?
you have Shrewsbury's? I would just like you to look at Shrewsbury's.
Yeah, I looked at Shrewsbury's.
You know, the rest of the council, just,
No, it's, if we're gonna table it, we'll table it, we don't need to keep it.
I had two
Don't look
things.
at Shrewsbury's. What's that? I don't think you should look at Shrewsbury's.
No.
I have a question for our manager. I'm sorry, I'm taking this medicine and sometimes I forget things.
No, you're fine.
But it just came on me. You helped me with my trash, my heavy duty trash they wouldn't pick up, and it got done. But now we have another problem. The entire street, they didn't pick the trash up. This is not the heavy duty trash, this is the regular trash.
Trash or recycling?
Just the trash. Everything is out there.
No, it
They
was
got-
recycled.
They got a blue bin
It was
with,
recycled.
yeah.
It was
Yeah,
recycled.
Marcia saw it too.
The recycling.
Yeah, the entire, so I don't know, what, did they call you? Did any,
We weren't aware that there was an issue until this morning.
okay.
But they did have a truck breakdown, they got about half the borough collected. And that's why we put the Savvy Citizen alert out, that we're aware that there was an issue. They only had, one truck, one crew that they could supply on a Saturday for recycling, so everything basically is pushed until the next collection day.
Okay,
will they take, if people have left, it was 4th of July, will they take, if we fill bags with cans, bottles, whatever, because those trash,
Don't put them in bags.
put them in what? If they're full, I mean, people
Well,
could use 2 and 3 of them at this point.
Well, we have extra recycling bins, or if you have a clear tote, but if you put them in bags, they're not going to take.
Okay, so that.
What about a cardboard box? That recycles too.
Cardboard boxes
Yeah.
recycled.
Okay, that's a good idea. People ask me, where do I put the rest of my stuff in? Now I have an answer.
This council implemented last year a 6-point plan for misses, where they were supposed to check in with the office. I know it was on, this was a Saturday. Are they still doing that 6-point plan?
They are, but what you have to remember is that contract says that they have to have the ability to correct the situation on the next collection, next scheduled collection. So what we'll do now is, obviously, if they miss Friday and it's the same, then we'll go back to the penalties again. I don't think that's gonna happen, because they're aware that we've already initiated a penalty once, but,
But they're supposed to call and check with you before they do before, and that nobody's called before 3:30.
they have been.
They still do
They
that?
have been,
Okay.
yes.
It was recycling and not trash.
We've also decided
Oh, Saturday, yeah.
Well, they were also pushed, right, because it was July 4th.
Yeah,
so
4th of July, that's why it was Saturday.
that. That's why they're-
Yeah.
People forget that.
I had 2 things under new business before you motored on.
I'm sorry?
I had 2 things under new business
Okay.
before you motored on.
Sorry.
I was gonna say that Kim and I attended the Association of Boroughs picnic last month at Lake Redmond, and we got to talking with the other boroughs and so forth. And when Kim and I said we do not do a newsletter, you thought we had 3 heads. Huh,
No.
Kim? Some boroughs do it every single month, some do them quarterly, some do them every other month. I would like to propose going back to doing a quarterly newsletter. I understand we have the Savvy Citizen, and that's great to get out good information like, we've missed this. There's a tornado watch coming, that sort of information. But I think there's still a large part of the community that we're missing with important, information that goes on within our community,
I agree with you, yeah, I've
yeah.
always thought we should go
I-
back to having.
I
a
printed
newsletter.
out Stewartstown and Shrewsbury's locally, and, you know, they're talking about their 5K run, and, you know, their senior center news, and the mayor puts out you know, I mean, it's just good information of stuff that's coming up.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. We have
Could we
a
entertain
population
that?
that don't, you know, we have a large segment of our population that just don't go to the borough website, and this would give them an opportunity.
This way, you're pushing it out to their home, and whatever's coming up the next 3 months,
Yeah,
we slam it in a newsletter.
yeah, would be good for rec too, to have a rec section.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
they have that.
Things coming up.
Shrewsbury highlighted their fire department, you know, their paving projects coming up, trash detail. Just all kinds of, you know, their meetings are on here for Stewartstown.
What's Shrewsbury's, is it monthly or quarterly? or-
Quarterly, April, May, June, and so is Stewartstown, that's what I would think, quarterly.
Glen Rock has one too.
September, I think Glen Rock has one.
I don't forget who it was, but they do it monthly, and I'm like, yeah, that's a little much.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think we talked about that
Right.
a while back. You know, I'm used to doing them quarterly, previous employer, so it's not an issue to handle internally as well. We have to determine the delivery method though. Are we including them with sewer and water bills, refuse bills, or mailing them separate, or bulk mailing? Some of those
How did
things-
you do it before?
It got stuck in an envelope with sewer.
Is it something where we can maybe keep it to one page so that we fold it and bulk mail it, or?
As long as we can get, which
Well,
wouldn't be an
I mean,
issue,
that'd
have
be
a bulk
two.
mailing permit, so we can fold it.
Well, the cost of that, why don't we try it, at least initially, try it, just put it in with the sewer and water bill?
Well, so the sewer and water bill, remember, it's self-sealed, so that actually have to go in an envelope then. Or we alter the billing stock completely and go to where it'd be like maybe a third page or a full page, and then that would go in an envelope and reduce it. That's an option.
And a lot of us don't get a water, sewer,
Yeah, so
refuse
what
bill
happens,
anymore.
right, what happens there is, we have that list, and we get an email with the newsletter.
You know, we can push
Oh, that'd be
Savvy
great.
Citizen on
Yeah.
here, and I kind of think also, push, maybe they want to have it emailed. I mean, would that be something to where we can cut down on the bulk mailing and say, you know, send us your email to here, and we'll email you this, and get like a group.
That would give us an email file for rec too.
Yeah.
Does Berkeley have a list of their, like, the renters, and then email, you might be able to just email them, because they won't get a sewer water bill either.
Right.
Do you have Kohler Point, or is everybody up there? Do you have their email addresses, or they all?
I don't, there's an HOA,
Right, that's what I mean.
rep. I can forward it to them, and then they can send it out, via emails.
And then, Summit, up on Reese and up there by the cemetery, they've got an HOA.
Put on the agenda for next month.
Yeah, we can put on the agenda for next month, but why don't you go ahead and,
We'll do
you know,
that.
plan for
I'll
doing
I'll
this.
leave these with you, so
Sure.
kind of see what's on there.
Then put it on the agenda and approve it for next month. That's great.
And one more thing, but Mike Sharkey texted me back, and it is a public meeting tomorrow night in Shrewsbury, 6 PM, for the negotiations for Glen Rock. And the second item was a recommendation, and when you were hired here like a year ago, Andrew, and you took your first vacation, we allowed that because you had already had it scheduled and the deposit and everything down, and said the next year it would change. But you're really important to our meetings, you know a lot, and we kind of need you here, and that schedule where you're taking your vacations is on your Spring Grove council meetings, and I would just ask that the vacations can be moved to match New Freedom's.
It's a family
meetings.
vacation, with
Just
his
said
parent.
Spring Grove.
Or did you come from Spring Grove?
Right.
Yeah, but you took your vacation because it matched up with their meeting, so you didn't miss their meeting. Is what was,
No, it's been that week for 25 years.
oh, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the recording was that he kept that on the second Monday, because that was where he was able to be at his meeting there. And so I was just asking that if we could not miss having you in June
I
every
don't
year going
recall
forward.
that being, I think that was approved when he was hired. He told us that he has family vacation.
I thought it was just for the first year because he already had it. And it is an ordinance that he must attend all meetings.
We're really talking about this
Yeah,
and
and
wasting the
I'm-
public's time. We can talk
Yeah.
about this at another.
For the business of the borough.
Actually, it's personnel.
What would that be for you to be here?
Well, I guess we need to go back to the contract then.
Well, and I watched the
really
video and it just said that he kept it that first year because that's when he could attend their meeting, and I was just bringing it up so that
So if I'm
you're
sick,
important.
I'm sick one night, what's the difference?
All right, this is totally out of order, we're moving on. Thanks for your input. Okay, managers report.
Executive session.
Most of the items that were handled this month are on the agenda. I do have two other items to report on. If you recall, the first round of ARPA funds were distributed in June of last year with the anticipation that the second round would be in June of 2022. Department of Treasury released that they weren't sure that that was going to happen, and just last week they announced that the second payment will be July 15th. So that is actually due into the bank account at the end of the month, or I'm sorry, at the end of the week for the second allocation. Second thing I wanted to just update on is I did meet with manager of Shrewsbury Township, and we did go through and redline a couple of different agreements and kind of piece them together for the intermunicipal agreement of cooperation for regional recreation and a rec director. So we're working on getting all that cleaned up, and we'll have that back to council as well as his township supervisors for review, in anticipation of DCNR reviewing the peer-to-peer study and providing a final recommendation so that we can move forward with the circuit rider grant. So everything's still moving forward. And like I said, everything else basically was all agenda items that happened throughout the month. So the next thing, something a little new, is the mid-year financial report. What we did here is we pulled a budget versus actual. The budget numbers are for the entire year. The actual numbers are for January through June of 2022. We did give you the summary sheet at the beginning, and then the budget versus actual for all the funds. A couple things I wanted to point out and just remind you that this is the first year that we've fully integrated into QuickBooks. There were a lot of accounts and a lot of transfers and things that we needed to consolidate some and break other ones apart. So you're going to see some numbers that are a little out of line. You're going to see some line items where there's not a budget figure. And basically what happened there is we realized that we needed to classify things a little differently and break it out separately. So it's an adjustment year, it's a learning year as we get through things and reclassify and realign the budget figures. So really in the end, we need to worry about that bottom figure. We'll work on fine-tuning those details as we get into looking at the 2023 budget and so on. So I can take any questions, try to go through, and there's some things that happened as far as expenditures that obviously we're not planning for. That happens, and a budget is a guideline.
So is this actually a good thing that we brought in 86% of the income and we're only halfway through the year, or is that just based on taxes and when they come in?
Your largest, one of your largest income sources is obviously real estate tax, and because that's due April 15th, yeah, you've got that. Basically February, March, and April is when you're getting the majority of your real estate tax. What you have for you is your earned income tax is also a very large portion of your general fund budget, and that comes in throughout the year. So the cash flow of the municipality is usually, the first 2 months of the year are pretty much nil, and then your real estate tax comes in, and then you have the rest of the year to expend that. The other thing to watch out for is your payments from the state for pension, for foreign fire insurance, for your PERTA tax. That all comes in late September, early October. So a lot of that is money in, money out, though. I can try to answer any questions, if anybody had anything.
Workers' comp is due what, this month?
Workers' comp is paid for the entire year.
All right, gotcha. Got it.
You don't, there's not acceptance of this report, it's just information.
I'd just like to say that I think it's wonderful that you've taken the initiative to put this into QuickBooks. It really can split things out. We've tried to look back over some expenses and different things, which we'll bring up in a little while, and this really can break this down instead of just saying, okay, it was $7,000 for this, these expenses, we know exactly what those expenses are, and that's what we have to answer to everybody about. So I thank you for bringing that on board, and I know it was bringing Tara up to speed, that was new for her, but it's much appreciated.
Goes a long way towards transparency.
Absolutely, it
Government,
does.
definitely.
So the next thing that we'll do is, at the end of the year, you'll get a similar report. But what we're gonna do there is break out the line items and give an explanation of, okay, we were $5,000 short of this revenue source. Well, why did that happen? Or we were $10,000 over budget, and why did that happen? So it's not gonna be a paragraph, but maybe just a quick, one sentence, and not every line item, the ones that are outside of the set parameters. So we'll do that at the end of the year as we transition into the new budget.
Now, since we're into the manager's report, I have a question. We did have an audit, am I correct?
We did, yes.
Did we get copies of that?
We will. They actually finalized that 2 weeks ago, because when you're looking at, they have to incorporate pension financial information.
Never mind, that answers it right there.
Well, just for everybody, the pension financial information is almost always 6 months out after the end of the year. So that's the delay in there. I asked for electronic copies as well, so I'll make sure council gets that information. We also need that for our general obligation note to make sure that we're providing that to the bank. So we're waiting on that as well.
Okay, that answers that.
Plus
Thank you.
The auditor through the Auditor General for the pension plan needs that as well. So there's quite a few people waiting on
questions on that?
I don't have anything else unless anybody has any questions.
So there's still no update on streetlights?
Sorry?
Still, the streetlights, we're still in the holding pattern with them?
Yeah,
Okay.
the last report, it was in engineering. Engineering has to create the invoice, and then the financial department has to send the invoice out.
As far as bid,
Yeah, correct, and once we receive that invoice and pay for it, they'll schedule it, but we're,
okay.
we're at their mercy at this point.
Waiting,
And
and then we
there
get
are
back to them, and we'll wait some more.
quite a few municipalities that are in the same boat of waiting to get things done with MedEd at this point. Donnie spent hours on the phone just trying to get a number to reconnect a service, so it's a little rough right now.
Just as a side question, is it like staffing shortages on their end? Is it just,
I think it's always been that way, hasn't it, Donnie? We used to have to fax it to them in the. I was in here, you were on the phone for what, 2 hours on hold the other day?
It's gotten worse,
okay,
yes.
Yeah.
So my assumption would be, yeah, it's.
okay, all right. It's certainly everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing the staffing shortages everybody's having. Okay, President's report, I only have a couple of things. We had a virtual EMS meeting. Basically, we met with the new DCED person who's going to be doing the study for the EMS. We also have a new agreement coming. Do I need to bring that back to council, or can I just sign the updated agreement? It just adds Jacobus.
It was already approved by everyone else, so I don't
Right.
see why everyone's in agreement to continue this. I don't see why you can't just sign that.
Does anyone have a problem with that?
I had Jacobus written down.
Right?
When I asked who it was, I don't have Jacobus written down last month.
Right, yeah, but they're sending around a new agreement, just saying that they're allowed to be part of the EMS study. So I'll just go ahead and sign that, and I'll let you know when it comes to me. The fact that we have a new agreement and a new DCED person, it means that we're not gonna have really any funding information for this budget cycle at all. And so as a consequence of that, I asked Jim Mustard if he would meet with Kim and myself, and that meeting's, you know about that, right? No. Okay, well, apparently we're meeting now. We're meeting on the 27th at 3 o'clock. Let me just confirm.
I mean, I meet with them twice a month anyway, but.
I know, but I just wanted to get budget input.
No, I agree.
Because we're gonna.
Because I've told them that we need these figures and get to.
I'm sorry, it's
working on
at
budget.
1 o'clock. I wrote down 1300. 1 o'clock at his place. So that'll give us hopefully some input, because we're basically at the same place we were last year budget time. We don't have any information. And I know they need things, but I don't know what they need. So I thought that would be a good first step to reach out. And that's basically all I have, unless somebody has a question.
I'll continue on then with
Yeah.
fire services. Apparently there was a little, I'm not gonna say miscommunication, it just was, nobody knew, but things slipped through the cracks. I do now go to the board of directors meetings for the fire company every month. I go to their other meeting on the second Thursday of the month. But they, apparently, we neglected to put their mowing. We had agreed a couple of years ago that we would take care of mowing, we would take care of snow removal, and he came on board that did not realize that when we signed the contract with Jordan. We've gotten that straightened out. They are extremely grateful. They're glad for everything we're doing, that we seem to take an interest in what they're doing. want to help. I asked them, I don't know if anybody, you guys, you know, Bonnie Jo Houston, rest her soul, apparently, you know, she had some problems, the downspouts on the fire company, okay? Some of them led directly, I think, into the storm drains or wherever they're supposed to go, and the other ones just kind of ran, and they flooded her backyard. I said something to them the next week. They tied every one of those downspouts into the drains so that none of those neighbors will have that flooding problem again. We were having basement issues. I really appreciated them taking care of that. I think that goes along with having a better relationship. That pretty much, well, the other thing I have to say with the fire company is the knowledge now that the community center generator is a community center generator. We were told that that line was cut years ago. Donnie always said, no, it wasn't. Well, we had a power outage, and lo and behold, the fire department was all lit up, and so was Tasteful Occasions in the community center. So, that is, we have agreed to take back the generator, the maintenance on that. They are very, very appreciative. Along with that, Andrew's predecessor deducted anything that had to do with that generator maintenance from their fire tax, which don't know whether it was legal or not, but it was done. I'm asking that Borough Council approve a reimbursement to Rose for half of that amount, I believe it is, $3,205.56 that they have already paid us out of their fire tax.
I would entertain a motion to reimburse Rose $3,205.56.
Second that?
A motion and a second, any discussion? It really was just a mistake.
Yeah,
We'll call it that.
we'll call it that.
All in favor? Opposed? My vote is aye.
So the regional, they did adopt a new drop program that the officers can now get into. It was supposed to be approved, I think, back in 2019, kind of fell through the cracks. We've now adopted that.
I thought they already had a drop program.
They were supposed to, but they didn't. It never went to commission for a vote. So we voted on it this last meeting. So it is now finalized through their PM. It's PMRS, and their PMRS. We are going to have to negotiate this year with their new contract for 2023 for the officers. I guess the finance committee, we will be taking care of that. I'll keep you informed as to what happens there.
Did somebody do a financial study of what the drop program would mean to the long-term?
It doesn't, long-term, it doesn't mean anything to us. There is no additional cost to any of the boroughs. It's strictly to the participants.
Yeah, but then does it then trickle down to us?
No, it's not the same as what you see in, you can do a drop program the way you can do an insurance program. What the employee can pay for all of it, or the employer can pay for all of it, or you can split it. This is strictly something that the officers choose on their own.
Okay, so they're the only ones.
Affected,
Okay.
okay? There is no additional payment by any municipalities.
Okay.
Okay, so it's just an opportunity for them to do something different if they want. It's not like Baltimore County has a drop program, their fire department. This is kind of, it's different. There are just so many different kinds that you can do. But they did do that. The financial report, the good news is, I think they're only $5,000 over budget, and they anticipate that to change. We did have a couple officers again out with COVID, so we were up a little bit on our overtime. I'm not gonna say next month is not gonna be over for New Freedom. As you all know, we did have the incident, unfortunately, with the young guy that was up at Summit Grove.
Who's heading that investigation?
Who what?
Who is heading up that investigation?
Everybody. Stan basically, and the state police.
So the state police, Southern Region?
State police took command.
So he's asking who's heading up the investigation to figure out what actually happened.
Oh, the detectives and chief, but mainly the detectives. They have a, I don't know what I can say over here, because because it is under investigation.
You don't have to say anything.
Let's put it this way, it's still under investigation, there are people they still need to talk to.
So
But
it's
it
with
is-
Southern Region?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All I'm asking.
yes. They're taking the
Gotcha.
lead. And I do thank all the participating units. I mean, we must have had 300 people here, you know, out checking out with flashlights in the woods and, you know, getting bitten up, but, you know, it's unfortunate. And I can't go into any more detail about it at this point. You will hear a little bit more down the road. Another thing that happened with, there is a police station in Stewartstown. I don't know if some of you might not even be aware of it. It was the old Stewartstown Police Station. I think they pay like $1 a year or $100 a year to still use it. Unfortunately, during COVID, what happened was everybody was using the wipes to wipe down counters, computers, everything. And unfortunately, the guys were throwing them in the toilet. They clogged up the grinder and flooded the entire building basement. They asked for remediation from commission for $5,000. They had it's happened twice. They had a $2,500 deductible. Like I said, happened twice, so they asked the commission to pay that deductible in the amount of $5,000, which they did, which will kind of put them a little bit in the hole. I don't know if you all saw the K-9 unit, donations are coming in, that's been wonderful. I mean, he raised enough money to pay for the new K-9 police, what's that, Tahoe? Is that a Tahoe? New Tahoe, have it equipped, everything, with a little money left over. That's doing great. Our numbers, you know, we're up a little bit in numbers with the, for the year, but it's not anything major. You all have that report, you can take a look at it. You also have the monthly expense, or monthly reports. Like I said, they're 5,000 over budget right now. They expect that'll change because now we've got everybody back. One thing they did do was initiate a co-responder program. What this does is if we have mental health situations, if we have addicting calls where they require Narcan or it's a repeat offender, even if it's really just about anything, domestic violence. This co-responder program, they will bring in a social worker, a team, whatever they require, and they will make recommendations to the individual and the family and find them the help that they need. They will actually come to the scene. I don't know if you guys don't have pagers
if you knew the number of attempted suicides, psychiatrics that have come through Southern York County in the last 2 years, I think you would be shocked. And this is, it's no cost, the county pays for it, it's a wonderful program, I just want to bring it up, that accolades to them for doing this. It's going to be a good program for our citizens, in need. Behavioral health, like I said, other services, behavioral health screening assessments. It helps our first responders. Believe it or not, I think we have, I know one of our police officers is still a paramedic, which if you look at I don't give you these numbers on the call log, but the call log, there are many times that our police respond, and hopefully it's 2 of them that have their credentials, because we've got a number of missed calls. We've had 2 calls in the last 2 months where we had cardiac arrest. Our guys were out, everybody else was out, and again, we had to wait for Jacobus. If we wouldn't have had our police on call that were paramedics, I don't know what would have happened, and I don't want to explain that to a family that are expecting EMS services. Again, you guys, I can show, I'm gonna find a way to black this out. We talked about, Andrew and I talked about it, I think it's a HIPAA thing. It doesn't give names, but it gives addresses, and you could very easily, but I want you to have those numbers to see how many ALS, BLS calls come through. I do send it to you because you're on the EMS committee. And it shows what our response is in comparison to other municipalities. New Freedom had 23 calls last month. Guess how many were in Maryland? Of our calls, 25. Maryland got more calls than New Freedom.
Yeah, that's,
And they're trying to back off on that and call out, and, we've got to do something about that. Shrewsbury Borough, 40.
are we still about 19%?
We're still about 19%, between 17 and 19%. North Hopewell, Railroad, Stewartstown, they have their own EMS, and we're still going over there. Of course, when they're out on a call, we follow up. But Glen Rock is pretty much all BLS at this point. They don't have an ALS, which means we've got to cover their ALS calls. Chase Truck's going, they asked for their unit back, we did it.
Are they using it? I mean, they don't have it staffed, they don't have a paramedic, right?
No.
So what do they, never mind.
They want us to plow snow with it in the winter.
Ah,
But they wanted it back, so they got it back. They're working on trying to get something else up there. They're gonna probably approach us at that meeting to see what we can do to help. They are very appreciative. They did buy a new pumper. The only reason they did it was because they could get a demo. I'll be honest with you, they got the demo, and 2 weeks later, the price went up $60,000. They locked in the price. They're gonna need a new ladder truck within the next year, 2 years, $1.6 million. They haven't been able to fundraise. They're gonna do a bingo, they're thinking about getting back into some other things, hopefully with our help, possibly go back to the fish fry. They made a lot of money off the fish fry. And I know we had talked about, that equipment up at the community center belongs to the borough. If
The fryers don't work anymore, we don't want them to not have fish fries because we didn't replace the fryers. So that's something else we'll take a look at, we're still in discussions. So, okay, that's all I have, I don't know, did I miss anything?
Well, yes, it's kind of important. Officer Lawrence went to a motor carrier safety assistance class. He was certified so that now he can weigh in trucks and inspect them if there's a violation within our community.
Do we have scales?
He does.
He has something, yep. There were a few letters that came in, one for Officer Hanson, another one for Officer Saylor, and I believe 2 for Officer Hefner that just had to deal with the community and how well they handled themselves during situations, and the community just sent in these letters, so it's really a testament to the great policing that we have here. And they're going to be able to sell the Charger, one of their cars that they had taken everything off of to outfit the one that they got not long ago. They're going to be able to sell that one, and the old K-9 vehicle, they have another department that is looking to pick up that
They
vehicle.
put it on municipal.
And then you got that, and the drop plan. The only other thing, I don't know if I say his name right, Officer Romello, his last day was the 4th.
Oh, yeah, he had only been with us about 2 months, maybe, he was,
More than that.
he wasn't even finished probation, I know that.
Yeah.
So,
Down one
and he
officer.
he took a position with another department.
So they have open interviews and we'll see.
Okay, thanks. Engineer monthly progress report.
Looks good. Looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, any comments?
No, it's just not much right now.
All right, water system,
We have water.
we had, did you talk about the, about not talking to York Water Company?
Yeah, it's on the agenda. I've had one conversation with York Water regarding discussing the current agreement for service. Since then, I was told I would get an email or call back. I've called back twice and left messages for that individual, and I have not received a call back, so.
Is that an actual legal contract that we have with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know we talked to Shrewsbury, and Shrewsbury does have a contract, but they do not have to use a minimum amount of gallons per quarter, month.
Yeah, I believe that is true, that they have the connection, but.
They can always open it up if they have to.
That's what we want to get to, right?
That's what we're looking to do.
That's what we need to do, yeah.
Why don't we just turn it off and stop sending the bit,
I was
sending
just
the
gonna say,
bill?
if you wanna get their attention, you stop sending them money, somebody will call you.
I'll bet you.
I don't think we want to be in violation.
I don't think we want to do that, but.
That's why I said, is that a legal contract agreement? Okay.
I'll continue to reach out, and if we have to, I'll work with Dave Jones and we'll send a letter from Stock and Leader requesting a meeting. Maybe that'll get you.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for anything at this point, we're just asking to sit down and have a discussion, so I don't think that's too much to ask.
No. Wastewater system,
Still flushing.
no flushing. No violations. Always good.
Meeting, did meeting take place? Coming up?
It's still tentatively at this point scheduled for July 21st. I'm just waiting to make sure that we can try to get everybody there. And the other thing we're waiting on is Arcane K needs to provide us a draft presentation this week, and if we don't get that on time, we want time to review that to make sure that it complies, aligns with everything that we're looking at. So there could be a delay there as well. Just want to make sure that it's correct before it goes out to everyone.
I think it should be delayed at least a week.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because that's one, well, the last thing I got was the 21st.
Right. It's difficult to get everybody, all schedules to align.
Yeah. Okay, zoning and code enforcement.
Question pertaining to picture number one, just said that the meeting was supposed to happen on April 7th.
Yeah.
They just not responding?
Yeah, they have, they were actually over there working last week, and Wade went over and discussed it with them. They actually were working with the engineer to get all the drawings that we want. So
Okay, so they're just trying to get this stuff in place.
right, because we need drawings of everything, that's what they're working.
But they're not in a situation of not responding.
They are responsive, yes.
Where's the update on number 2 since April?
I went up last week and looked at everything. Again, as it was discussed before, the majority of the items, well, junk and debris has been removed. Anything that remains,
Tractors?
is really operable in the affidavit from the defendant, so.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's, the progress is probably 80% better than it was before, and then there's still other things that we're working on. But really, at this point, everything that's left is compliant.
I hate to backtrack, but I'm done. The MS4 and the stormwater that we just did, okay, does that have a bite for people that say,
Yes.
Discharge oil.
okay, yeah, discharge oil,
It's better if
you
I
know,
can't
they
push
leak, and, I mean,
There is no regulation in the current stormwater ordinance, the new one indicates.
okay.
That's called, it basically defines that as an illicit discharge. And that can be anything from washing your car in the street to discharging automobile fluids.
There we go, good, okay, all right.
It'll help, it'll give something.
Anything's better than, I'm looking at 7 and 8, or 6, 7 and 9 of this. Do we go out and double check?
Yeah, I went out.
Because I was up there, well, I was up there when I was looking for the boy. And we went all through, you know, we were going floodlights, spotlights, and I just happened to notice that
Well,
if
the
they
one-
moved them, they moved them back.
The
One of them.
one at,
I don't know which one now. I want the
I will
road.
tell you the one in picture 6 is moved back near that electrical transformer, and it's turned.
Okay. But
So
there was
I don't
another
know.
one, no, that it's in a, there's a cul-de-sac.
That
It's
that would
it's a
be
cul-de-sac.
6 and 7, we're both from a cul-de-sac.
Okay, because they were still there last week. So I don't know whether they moved them,
Yeah,
waited, moved
What I
them back.
feel like is happening there is they're moving them in and out.
That's what I'm thinking.
That really wouldn't be a bad thing, right? As long as they put it away whenever they go in to eat supper or whatever.
Them suckers are
Right.
heavy.
Right, yeah, well, some of them are, have little wheels.
They have little wheels.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wasn't sure because I knew it was written off there and
Yeah.
I had seen it.
3, 4, and 5 back from May.
Yep, so I called the magistrate asked for an update. They sent the defendant a regular mail summons that was returned as vacant. They sent the second notice via certified mail. That was returned vacant. So now there is a warrant out for that individual. However, regarding pictures 3 and 4, as of today, that was removed by an individual taking care of the property.
I'm assuming that
Does-
individual is a different one than the one listed.
Not the owner, correct?
Does that mean it went back to a bank or somebody?
No, it's,
Neighbor.
Okay, somebody took it, it's gone.
right, yeah. Now, the other issue that we made that individual aware of is the vehicle, basically said, open the garage door and push it in for what is needed here, but it's got a
Closed storage.
Yep. There's actually quite a bit of activity, especially.
How'd you find the car in 15 and 16? It's almost gone.
It sure is.
Sorry for, wow.
I think I have a question on that.
Andrew, tonight I saw that one picture, that car that you can't see, they cut that out. They started to cut that out of there.
Good.
Because because I had to drive past, I mean,
Yep.
there's no way I couldn't. But I saw they were starting, so.
I need a brush hole to get that cleaned out. I think Wade's probably gonna ask us for a drone. If you look at picture 17. I thought we were renting yours. We were.
I thought we were renting yours.
Not rented, just to use the attic.
Oh, your personal one? Oh,
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
his
it was
first
yours.
No, it's, yeah. So I think we should probably get that. I think it's definitely, because we could go up 100 feet and get pictures, so. Is it 150 feet or 100 feet?
You have to be over, should be over 100.
Over 100, yeah.
Does he have to get licensed for that?
Unless you're actually doing it for commercial purposes in the fact of exchanging funds, but there's a section in the PA statute that allows an individual that's authorized by a government entity to do code enforcement or enforce regulations to use a drone outside of, a spying violation.
Because there's some nice ones out there that really aren't that expensive.
Right.
Tomorrow's Amazon Day. Okay. Rec Council?
I was the liaison this month for Ryan. Their treasurer's report, their balance is 19,366. Mary Ann, President's announcement, they received a sponsorship from Crescent Industries in the amount of $1,500. They will put Crescent Industries logo on a banner and they will display it at all of their events. Mary Ann said that there was a budget that she has to submit to the borough no later than 8/15, and she would like to see the new outdoor pickle courts on that budget. That's what she has said.
This was the paper that you had forwarded to her about.
Yeah. Yeah,
Budget expenses,
I
excuse
don't
me.
know what she said.
We met with the engineer when we opened the bids. After we opened the bids today, we discussed those, so they're working on a couple layout issues at this point, so. But I think, I feel like he would be able to have an estimate in the next couple of months.
Is the $1,500 for the concert stuff, or is it just a sponsorship?
It's for all their events throughout the year. Moving forward, they need to make sure that they're recognizing them. It's a sponsorship.
Yeah, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Kim was there with me, and he asked if the proposed ADA compliant ramps for the park should be included in the rec budget. And she said she would reach out to you, Andrew, to see.
They're very, well, they're not paying for anything that gets done down there, we said, so that wouldn't even be their
What ramps are
responsibility.
you talking about?
Yeah,
I don't know. That had to do with if we decide to do some improvements down there, I think.
The gravel?
Yeah, yeah, the gravel.
What ramp would we need? The only ramp that you would possibly need would be the stage.
I think, did you mean just a path?
I think, yeah, I think we were talking about the path. If we did something in there, either took out the stone and just put grass, or decided to put a path, just the fact that if we make changes over there, it would have to be ADA compliant. Because there wouldn't be any ramps anyplace else.
I had been out to the basketball courts, and I asked the rec commission if there were pickleball lines on the basketball court, and they said no, and I had a picture, and I showed it to them, and they were shocked to see that those are pickleball courts. She has it down that I said it was vandalism. I did not say it was vandalism. Rich said that. I said, I don't know if the borough put it on, I don't know if it was, I don't know what it was. So Rich went out there and looked and came back and said, absolutely, somebody has put pickleball lines on the basketball court. The farmer's market is going well. It made $225. The fire department was receptive to the idea of supplying food on the second Saturday of the month when they are having their farmer's market. The summer tennis program is going well. It will end on July 8th. It has about 33 participants, and it has netted approximately $1,370. Also, adult tennis is going well. It has 11 participants and has netted $285. Pickleball continues to be successful. They had 20 participants in June. They netted $70 after expenses. The Rec Commission wants to thank the borough for its participation in the parade. It was truly appreciated, and we all know the town loved it. Concerts in the park for 2022. As our first concert will be with beer vendors, they decided to request a donation to Rec from them rather than to ask a flat fee from them. But that decision is subject to change. Rec will be providing food for the concerts and has received written approval from the Lions Club to use the Cook Shack. The Senior Center has been approached about providing desserts, and they are going to follow up with Bonkies to see if they can provide an ice cream truck. They decided not to have children's games at the concerts this year. Rec will be finalizing all details for the first concert at the August meeting. They're hoping that the Borough Council will attend to support the Rec and to have fun at the great concerts. The tentative times for the concerts are food from 5 to 7 and the concert from 6 to 9. And they have a notation, we have not been able to finalize anything with E. Diaz. We have decided to go with karaoke in the park with Danny Dolan for the third concert. This event will be held on 10/5. 10/15. Veterans Day, the community center has been reserved for November 10th, and they're going to start planning that in August. And I also brought up when I was out there on Father's Day weekend that there are a bunch of tiny cracks on the tennis courts. And then Mary Ann wanted me to reach out to Andrew to see about warranty or why the courts are so cracked in the condition they are.
Is that related to riding the skateboards on them, do you think, or is it just aging?
I don't know, I mean, there are a lot, and I mean, they're close together, so I don't see how you'd have to be zigzagging like, everywhere. I don't know.
You and I talked about that. It seems to be more just regular wear and tear. We
Yeah.
talked, those courts are only good for about 4 years.
I can't imagine having to resurface courts every 4 years.
Every 4 years, that just doesn't.
Is that-
Sits out the blazing sun all day.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now,
rain.
in the winter, that's gonna get in there and freeze and so forth and make it worse, but really, at 4 years is it?
Yeah, that, from our understanding is that, you know, it's basically not much more than a painted on surface. So you do have, you know, you've got the heat obviously from above, you've got the asphalt holding that heat. The good thing is, as long as your asphalt is sealed tight, it shouldn't be getting, you shouldn't be getting a lot of damage from freeze thaw.
But these are split, these are
Right, they're, yeah.
apart.
The only other thing that we can do is reach out to the installer that was out that actually put the pickleball court lines and just run over everything, and if there's something that we can do to preserve it longer or maintain it differently, we can do that, but I have a feeling it's gonna be that's normal wear and tear based on that product. You know, I'm sure there's other things you can do, but it's gonna be probably more costly than a low bid.
It just wouldn't take a complete resurface. It's just, you know, like you put on your driveway, kind of,
I believe,
every so many years.
I believe it
or-
is like a squeegeed on.
Yeah, yeah. I
They put
mean-
like a sand material with paint. 'cause that makes
Yeah,
it
so it's not like you
bonds.
dig the whole thing up and have to
But just trying to put something up
asphalt.
like that, the paint's already faded already, so you gotta put the other paint on, you're gonna have a patchy.
Yeah, gotta do the whole thing pretty
Yeah,
much.
you have to do the whole thing if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, kinda like even touching up a wall in a house, once it's been there for 3 years, you're gonna see the spot.
I mean, it's not too much difference than painting your house. You know, it only lasts for so long, and then it starts peeling and cracking and.
We'll give them a call
Yeah.
and just to.
I had a quick question, it's more, I guess, for you, but, I mean, it's nice that Rec asked the Lions Club to use the cook shack, but that's not really appropriate, it's kind of our cook shack, right?
But it's their equipment. They're asking to use their equipment.
Yeah,
not the
when
coach.
they, well, I made sure that when they mentioned that they reach out to Lions Club, because that's their equipment. I
Their
don't wanna-
equipment,
I don't wanna
yeah,
give- I don't wanna
yeah.
give Rec permission to use someone else's.
Gotcha, okay.
How long has those pickleball lines been on that basketball court?
Who knows?
My
Nobody knows.
I didn't know about it until you
The
brought it up a
angst that
couple
we have
weeks
been
ago.
through.
Yeah,
How
You're not
long?
talking about the tennis court ones.
My
You're on-
understanding from everybody in here in the office is that it appeared sometime during COVID, and they were just kind of appeared one day. No one really could put a handle on them.
But they're
But when we
painted,
were
but
going-
they're not professional.
No,
yeah.
no.
Oh,
Somebody
but
just
when
went
we were
out.
going through all that angst, nobody said there's lines on the basketball?
Well, I'll be honest, I saw lines there, but it didn't register that they were actually pickleball lines.
I didn't know
Plus-
what they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize, well, actually, I saw blue lines.
Through Google Earth, I was able to go back to 3/8 of 2020
Yeah.
and look at the pickleball lines.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
But I can't, I jump, it'll only jump back in all the places I've been able to find to 2018. So it's somewhere between 2018 and March of 2020.
I really think that they were installed, they were probably installed right around that time, because that's COVID, and my understanding is they couldn't play up there, and someone
2020 about that.
went down and put them on and to play down there, because
I think we all know who did it.
I,
Probably, yeah.
Probably, but it was shocking.
Can't prove.
Mr. President, may I?
I probably wouldn't have voted to put them on the tennis court. had I
May I
known
be
that.
excused?
Yeah, I think we're
There's no more voting or anything?
No, I think we're done with the vote.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But
You're gonna call me tomorrow, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, is that okay?
Have you seen that?
Yeah, no, well, not that particular picture, but yeah, I know that they've been put down.
I wouldn't have voted for the tennis court had I
It
known
doesn't
that.
even
Where's
look
the
like-
kitchen?
It doesn't even look like their regulation, does it?
No.
That can't be regulation.
The width of a basketball?
Well, I mean, it's half, yeah, it doesn't matter, I mean, we even talked about, in the meeting, we talked about putting them on the basketball court, and said that we needed the basketball court for the basketball.
They were already there then.
They did say something, I said, no.
I mean, I'm looking, I
No,
walk past
nobody
all
said
that, I
these were
know.
there, that was in April, nobody said these were there.
It's a,
It was chocolate.
all right, business development, think there's anything going on with that?
Much stuff.
Thank you.
Did you hear about Glen Rock Mill Inn getting the
I dropped all kinds
Trail
of
Town
stuff.
grants?
I'm sorry, getting what?
They got $40,000 in Trail Town grant.
Oh,
Fix up
yeah.
the side of their building.
I couldn't get it back in the bag.
EMS and fire funding, we've kind of talked about that.
Well, we'll have our
Meeting.
and I think that's what's gonna really,
Yeah. Infrastructure, we've approved the bids and we approved the payments, so I think we're on track with that. Intergovernmental, everything.
you go ahead, then I have a comment.
Yeah, Kim and I together, we've attended the, Stewartstown, Shrewsbury, Glen Rock, meetings. We also went to the Borough Association there at, Lake Redmond, the picnic. And one thing, Glen Rock has voted to reduce the size of their council. So they are gonna start the process to either go down to 5, maybe 3, they didn't say how many.
I talked to Raw and
What is,
he's going, they're looking at going to 5.
what's the purpose to that?
They don't, nobody's showing up.
There, like, at the meeting we were at, I think there were 3 missing.
They didn't have a quorum, the one
Yeah, I
month,
remember
and
that,
the other
yeah.
month, they had a minimum quorum,
And the
and
police
that was it.
commission, who didn't show up
Right.
this month, so.
Wow, that's really, that's,
Josh, I think.
that could really hurt though.
Yeah, so I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, the less,
It has to go on the ballot.
opinion and,
It
yeah,
has to go on the ballot, and they have to vote.
Referendum.
A referendum and all of that, but,
wow, okay.
and then the contract negotiation for Glen Rock and Policing Services, that will start tomorrow, and that'll be the second Tuesday of the month, in between the first and third IGA meetings. And that meeting, negotiation will happen in Shrewsbury at 6 p.m.
And I will say that, what I wanted to say, Eric and I are both getting a little frustrated. We're going to these other municipalities to see how we can help, how we can exchange information. And unfortunately, what we're getting, especially with Stewartstown, which I never would have thought, was unless you're a resident of Stewartstown, you are not to speak at their meetings.
Yeah, I actually, you said that the other day, and so I dug around in the Sunshine Act and whatnot, and that's their prerogative. They
I
can-
know,
Yeah,
I know, I just think it's,
can't really,
I think it's rude, I think it's
It is rude.
inconsiderate, and I think they're cutting off their nose to spite their face, and I say we don't send the streets with.
punishment, I like it. Well, I don't think it's everybody, first of all.
Glen Rock also,
Yeah, Glen Rock's got,
Really?
yeah,
yeah.
not as much.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I actually asked some people, I mean, Shrewsbury Township is happy that we're coming. I mean, but I mean, I could see where, I mean, somebody coming, like if Mike Sharkey sat out here every meeting and, I can understand how it would be, but
But we're
you're
going,
only.
We
you're
very
only-
seldom say anything.
I know, and you're only being there to be helpful, so
Exactly.
I don't understand it quite, but,
when others finally allow me to speak, they thank me
yeah.
for what I'm,
Yep.
because they're trying to figure out something, oh, we've done that, maybe call the office and find out, or, we've been through this,
Well,
and,
you're certainly not hurting anything.
No,
But-
it's-
So that's why I just don't understand the animosity. But Is that all you have?
That's it.
We're getting a bid for the pickleball court installation, right?
Working on design and then working with a contractor just to get a rough estimate, so we know what to include. Obviously, we've got to factor in bidding and prevailing wage and everything else, but
Yeah, and we're not going to do that until we have the whole layout of the park.
I think that's important.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I think it'll go well for the overall aesthetics and flavor of the.
Oh, yeah, because you
And
can't,
that-
because
that's
after you
what-
put it in, you can't say, well, why don't we move it up?
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah.
we're looking at grant money for that, right?
The master
Yeah.
plan, we can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, DCNR funding.
Personnel, you had any luck replacing, it just went out, right?
Public Works now. I mean, we've received a couple of resumes.
Okay.
I put that on my website too, and I replaced.
Yeah, that was good, I shared it.
And as a matter of fact, I've had 4 people message me and want to know where to send it, so hopefully we'll get it.
Yeah,
Are we always told when there's an opening?
have we what?
Are we always told when there's an opening? You know, like the borough
It was on
employees?
Savvy Citizen.
So, I mean, at a council meeting, like, let us know that, you know, yeah, we're short.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that position has been open since,
Several months.
it has been, yeah. Yeah, I don't, do you remember April?
I've been listening to employees for the past 3 years, so.
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah, can't keep losing,
Or can't, well,
yeah,
no
getting
comment.
rid of. Yeah, but yeah, that should be brought up, just in case we know somebody.
And that could go in the newsletter.
Yeah. Public safety, we already talked about the signs and.
Yep, we're safe.
Okay. Sesquicentennial Committee.
Yes, now, of course, we're working on a parade for next year. You already know that. And also, we're trying to get a baseball game together, an old timers ball game. But there is something that sort of missed for a while here, is we needed a logo to use for the sesquicentennial. Hey, Ken, you have anything you want to say?
I spelled sesquicentennial wrong.
I mean, nobody knows, that's a hard thing to spell anyway.
Yeah.
We probably went over this here.
Be glad before I printed the shirts. You know?
Yeah, yes, that would be, that.
Can you pass it around, or?
Yes, I was gonna say that. Oh, let me go on.
Dave, see it?
I think you guys didn't see it. Oh, Dave did, but, I was gonna say old man here.
Who's on your?
It's Ken Schaefer and,
It's Shepherd.
Yeah, is Donna? What?
no, she had to drop out. It's gonna,
Mary?
Myra Gillis is on.
How about Mary Smith?
Mary Smith's on too,
Okay.
because she's working with Myra. And that, we don't even, and then I have my wife on who was doing some advertising, but then this other.
There's two E's in
Just
Freedom.
Just 4 of you?
Yeah, it's so far, yes. Because I think what I want to do is I want to contact Mary Ann with the rec council and see if they want to do something also.
And then NCR.
Yeah, because it's,
Lions.
what we really wanted to do with this logo.
Lions contact.
Yeah,
Yeah, you might as well do that.
yeah, if I
Get
ever get
everybody
to a
involved.
meeting, yeah.
That what we wanted to do is we wanted to get T-shirts with the logos on. And Ken and I, we were talking about making up a logo. I had talked to Andrew too, to find out what I can use and what I can't use. And then Ken Schaefer, he came up with an idea that what you're seeing right there with the gold and then the silver, which is, man, I'll tell you what, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty sharp, I like it.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Could you imagine that on a black T-shirt, you know, that?
so.
That is,
That's cool. What's our town color? We have a town color?
I talked to Donnie and that, and really, as far as we go, the only reason why the color on this, before was because it was done by the Lions Club, and they used their colors on the symbol.
Is that the
before.
green?
The
hunter green?
Sort of a.
That was blue and gold.
Yeah. something
Well,
like
some
that.
of us have blue and some of us have
But it
green.
was their colors, and that's what they made it, because being they had done most of all that would have only been right. Let me show this to the people and see what they think. Here, this is actually, I'll tell you what, he did a great job with these, because, except he's as bad as me, he can't spell.
That might not even be a spell check.
Just let them pass it around, Burnell.
Yeah, okay, I see, you can do that and we'll continue on. But, yeah, I want to, I'm gonna put that on the Facebook, New Freedom Facebook page, so I can see what people's reaction and see how all people like it. I think they will,
I'll just print one that's spelled right there.
Oh, black t-shirt, that'll look pretty nice.
What do you need from us, Burnell? Anything?
Well,
right now, or?
and eventually here, we're probably going to need just a little bit of financing until if we can start selling these shirts, we can probably pay that back. And then we can actually start making some money towards the entire.
Are you thinking about getting sponsors or?
Yeah, and that's how I think we're gonna probably wind
You
up.
know,
doing.
for your old timers baseball thing, York Revolutions might want their name on a banner or something. They might sponsor a
You
team.
know what, I gotta contact them.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be a really nice idea, is the fact of having that ball game, because I kind of like that myself. It's been a long time since I played baseball, but.
Somebody's gonna get hurt. We should probably have
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
coverage.
I was gonna say, if I play, I probably will. No, I'm not gonna play.
Medicare cards.
When does everybody have to start growing their beards? Because everybody's supposed to have a beard, right, like last time?
Yeah, start now.
Didn't sound
Well, I was
good.
gonna say, we don't really have a brother and brush going on, but we can probably get that going.
I know, but that, for the 100th, that's what they're at, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I find the pictures. But maybe I should do that, maybe we ought to work for that. See, maybe the rec council would help us get that set up, where everybody had to wear beards and,
You don't wanna see me in a beard, it's very striking.
Hey, now you see the wearing old clothes, I've got that covered. I got plenty of that.
I think I still have clothes from that year.
I have one of the top hats and,
Okay, well, we're gonna put a line item, Andrew suggests we put a line item in the budget for the sesquicentennial, so we'll do that. And,
yeah, and what I wanted to do also, I had said something to Andrews too, I wanted to make sure that the money, I don't wanna touch the money.
we won't even think of letting you.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, that's the one thing I thought, I want to stay away from that because I mean,
Yeah, but you just, Andrew will cut the check, so just tell him.
because it looked kind of funny if I was collecting money.
Nah. Okay, it sounds like you're moving along. Let us know what you need, if you need help from any of us, or. I could be-
And I'll tell you.
I could be an umpire.
You can be an umpire.
I'll do first, Kim could do home plate.
Yeah, there you go, because just boy and playing. Baseball
The
days,
last time I-
softball days are over.
The last time I umped behind the plate, I got hit with the baseball.
I could be the bat boy.
I did too, that's mostly my problem. Okay, council chamber audio and video improvements.
I am waiting for, I had a problem, there are two gentlemen working on our project. They've got everything, they've had everything. Now, I had to give them dimensions of the room, a lot of other stuff, all the information from what we have for our sound system. The first guy went on vacation for 2 weeks, now the second guy's coming back the 17th. They promised me they will get me pricing and put everything together by our next meeting.
You know, another thing, you know, Shrewsbury Township just projects right on the wall too.
We tried that.
It's kind of weird, yeah, it's kind of weird.
If you don't turn the lights out, it's.
Yeah, they have higher ceilings too.
Well,
We
unless,
don't have that.
unless you really go into, you're right, they have the higher ceiling, we'd have to hang it from the ceiling. Or, I mean,
So maybe
put 'em
next
on a
meeting,
table.
should have something next meeting?
Yeah, I mean, we really could almost do part of it now with that, we have a projector.
Yeah.
It's just tying it in, and that doesn't seem to be the big thing, it's just the hub and the TVs is
Yeah.
basically it.
Okay. All right, we already talked about the letter from Glenrock Borough. We did get a correspondence from Crescent Industries, and I think it's probably from,
It's got 4 names on the back.
sorry again?
It's got four names on the back here.
Yeah, it's basically Eric Paulus has the, almost like home storage, I don't know, it's probably not called that anymore, that's what I remember. But anyway, it's signed by 4 different people, Eric Paulus, George Patton, Keith Gordon, and Martin Verga. And they're asking us to look at our sign ordinance.
Yeah, Martin's the guy that came to the zoning hearing board.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And
Of
actually,
course he wants to change it.
And actually, NCR has asked that we allow a mural to go up on the side of the building. Said it would be very tasteful and it would be, you know, kind of like this one's on the cannery, you know,
I thought they were
for
gonna-
the train.
That-
Yeah, so,
Couple years ago, they were gonna do
anyway,
that again at Martin.
Yeah, we were supposed to
Martin
redo
had,
that.
yeah, a heritage there. How come that never went back up on the side of that building where we used to watch the movies on the wall?
Yeah, it keeps getting
Oh,
put
yeah.
back. It's supposed to happen, I keep hearing them talk about it, they're gonna repaint those, but
yeah,
it doesn't quite happen.
so, is this our current sign regulation?
Correct. Yeah, what they did is they provided, I believe it was New Freedom, Dallastown, Glenrock, Shrewsbury as a comparison. So I think at this point, I would just say, take it, review it, look at how the other municipalities regulate signage for commercial development.
Then put it on the agenda for next month?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're amending your zoning ordinance, so, you know, as we go through this process, it's not overnight. It has to go to York County Planning Commission, has to go to New Freedom's Planning Commission, and finally to council for review only after a public hearing at a meeting, so it's pretty
But
involved.
you and I were at Shrewsbury when they had the problem with the zoning with M&T, because they fall under the same thing we do. If you have like Walmart, okay, all those stores up on the hill, they've got one sign and everybody gets a certain amount. That's what they go by. M&T put up a sign and it apparently was not up to code or was way over code. And it had to do with the lighting because it was lit.
The inspector interpreted that code, and that's why it was approved.
Approved,
Shrewsbury
and then they
Council
were-
interprets it a different way.
Right.
And our definitions aren't very good in our code. That's why they had to go to the zoning hearing board to get the thing done.
That's not quite fair though, so, I mean, they have one sign out by the street, but Walmart has a big sign up that says Walmart, and the shoe place
Well, on
has
their
a sign
building.
on their building, that's what
yeah,
they're
I
asking.
I agree.
They're asking for a sign out at the road, plus they wanna put a sign on the building where the brewery is, for instance, you know?
No, we approved that, we didn't approve it, that got approved by zoning hearing board to do.
But they're not getting one, from what they're all saying, out by the road. I mean,
Well,
the
that's
guys
up,
won't even talk to them.
yeah, that's their problem, not their
Yeah, I know,
problem. I
right.
mean,
So they just want
I
something.
feel for them because you gotta have advertising to bring
Right.
people in, but if that's somebody else's property, but is that somebody else's
Yeah, it's a
property?
Business
How does
Baptist
that work?
church there.
Don't we have right of way for, off the road?
At Constitution Day,
Yeah,
Rutland?
yeah,
No, I mean, we do, but that's not,
it doesn't fall under.
that's for another business. We can't have a business sign in our right of way.
Okay.
Yeah.
He needs to make some kind of an agreement with,
Whoever,
it's
Gem-
Gem
Gem
Craft, right?
That's what we've been trying to do.
That's, Phil
Hasn't worked.
Russell. Phil Russell, yeah, no.
Bill Robinson.
Phil Robinson, thank you. Okay. Public comment?
one, I have, if I could real quick. Do you know anything about a linen map that we have of downtown New Freedom for Heritage? We made a copy of a map for Heritage. What was that?
I don't think it's a linen map. We looked through everything. I've seen linen maps before, but it's not.
From 1873? I keep getting an email that they would like to have the linen map. I don't know what they're talking about.
We don't have.
I mean, we didn't give them the original, we made a copy, because it was a big copy. Right? I mean, one of the original maps.
First of all, if you're doing linen, I mean,
You're about, the Indians did that.
yeah, I mean, you gotta be pretty careful with that kind of stuff, so I'm not.
I told them, I said if we
They almost
do,
be
you
falling apart.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it doesn't hold up well.
I said,
It's under
you've
glass."
never seen a linen map here, have you?
No.
Said Jim Holly said we promised that they could have it. I don't know, I'm just, I got another email tonight.
He said he was coming down to get a map that he was
Yeah,
gonna
I
get a
don't-
copy
there was
of
a
up in York,
linen.
they had a large enough
Yeah.
scanner.
Yeah, they already got that.
Yeah.
Now they want the original,
I
that's
don't-
not good enough if that's what it is.
I mean, we're not gonna give,
No.
no.
Public comment?
It looks like, well, for the record, Bruce Merrill, New Freedom President. It looks like for the moment, the IGA on the police is at least not gonna move forward.
That's true.
I would, sometime back, I guess, in the end of February, March, you asked if I would look at the IGA and perhaps give you some feedback. There are several issues that I have with the IGA, but because of lateness hour, I'm just gonna go into the one, which is a showstopper, and I think ought to give everybody pause. And that's Article 11, which deals with new members and contracting. And specifically with the contracting, it takes the responsibility and the approval for contracts away from the boroughs and vests it in the police commission. It's my humble opinion that the police commission is there to run the day-to-day activities of the police activities. Pay the bills, prepare your budgets, ensure the civil service things are properly carried out, but not to go out and make contractual obligations to which the member communities now must honor financially, as well as potentially have impacts to their quality of service that they get from the police department. Those really should vest those decisions with the individual councils, not with the commission. And it's a very small change that's in there, and moreover, the change also authorizes the commission to sell contract communities service at a lower effective rate than what members are paying. You need to squash that when it comes back around. It really is your responsibility, and you shouldn't let that power be usurped by the commission, however well-intentioned they are. It really belongs at the approval levels of the member municipalities.
You said that's Article 11?
Article 11, paragraph B.
I remember that.
Yeah, there are a couple of things I know that we did look at changing, and I don't know if that was one of them.
Well, that one is clearly, it really is your responsibility. It's the member municipalities that stand this thing up and pay the bills, and they should determine where their services go. And not just a matter of what the finances are, but the quality of service. If somebody wants to come in and contract for 100 hours a month, what kind of service are you going to lose when you don't get those 100 hours? What are you giving up? It's not just patrol time, it might be detective time, other things as well. So all those things I think should get discussed at the member municipality level, and then votes should be taken here. I mentioned otherwise the other item, Article 12, which isn't clear in terms of what you do with the tie, that gets resolved. And I have issues with Article 1, which I consider to be wholly and completely punitive. And while I don't think it will ever affect New Freedom, and that has to do with the withdrawal issues after all we've gone through and what you're looking at in the future, but I think it could be a deterrent to other communities who might want to consider signing up and see that, hey, man, this is almost like buying a timeshare. You can get in, but you can never get out, and they're going to charge you well into your grave. So I would urge you to consider that. That's not to say that members that leave shouldn't have financial responsibilities, but there is no justification for the amounts of money that they're asking for in there. And so I would consider that that would be punitive and a detriment to future members. So, that's all I
Thanks,
say.
Bruce. Anything else? Oh, go ahead.
I'm over with you.
Anything else? Or, all right, all in favor?
Thank you, homie.
Come home, get my morning cup of coffee. I know, but I appreciate what you're trying to do, but it wasn't.
I saw your boy.
Because you don't discuss personnel issues